I feel that life is divided up into the horrible and the miserable. Those are the two categories, you know. The horrible would be like, I don't know, terminal cases, you know, and blind people, and cripples. I don't know how they get through life. It's amazing to me, you know, and the miserable is everyone else.
Hello and welcome once again to the Cine-Files, where this week we are continuing our exploration of Woody Allen's Annie Hall. My name is Steve Morris. I'm a filmmaker and directing instructor in Los Angeles, California.
Yes, hello, my name is... I can't do Woody. It's amazing. John Rocha here. Thank you so much. Writer, producer, and host, and voiceover artist in San Diego, California. Excited to be back, Steve, to dive into one of my favorite films now, having watched it again for even the second part of our discussion, because I just really enjoy this movie. Regardless of all the other stuff around it, I just enjoy watching it, and I love the humor, and I love the gender politics and dynamics going on with these two characters. It's a kind of breath of a fresh air every time you watch this movie.
Well, speaking of the other things that go around it, I think we have to kind of mention the elephant in the room, which is that literally the day that we dropped this episode, photos were released from the Epstein files that included Woody Allen and a whole bunch of other people. And it's not surprising. We'd been hearing forever that he had visited, you know, that he had been part of that group. And photos of famous people with other famous people is not evidence of crimes.
True. Very true.
But, you know, this goes into this whole where there's smoke, there's fire thing. And with Woody Allen, there's a hell of a lot of smoke. And that's why I'm going to continue to wrestle with this thing, because this is one of my favorite films, and he is one of my favorite filmmakers. And it's terrible, but I'm thrilled to be talking about this movie. And that's kind of what it is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's art from the artist. And so, and I know some people commented on our first part when we dropped it, and we respect all the comments, however you feel about the situation. And I truly appreciate Steve bringing that up as a way of like, we're not hiding from anything. It's not the kind of podcast that we are. So, but we are a podcast that honors and respects films. And that's how we're looking at this movie, from the limited parameters of looking at the movie and dissecting the movie and having fun with it. That's the point of this podcast.
And I also think that, you know, crime should be punished, you know, sure. but they should happen. Like but I don't think that, how do I want to say this? Well, I also think that crime should be punished. Absolutely. But I don't like trying people in the court of public opinion.
And we knew all this stuff. Well, not that we knew the pictures, but we certainly know that Woody is a problematic guy, but we still decided to do the movie. So some pictures coming out of him being with famous people, as you said, and unsavory people on that island. It is what it is. But that's not what we're here to do. We're here to talk about the movie. So yeah.
You know, and I think too, as we talk about artists and art, this is the exact kind of discussion, frankly, we should be having. I don't think that we should shy away from having these kinds of conversations. And frankly, one of the best places to have conversations about the films we cover on the Cine-Files is on patreon.com/the Cine-Files, where our favorite supporters, our top supporters, come to support the show. They get ad-free versions of the show. They listen to our Cine-Files shorts. We have an epic Cine-Files short coming out this week. One of my favorite conversations with John was just because it was a really great and very personal talk. And the only way to get that is through Patreon or through Apple Podcasts, where you can subscribe to their feed there.
Yeah, absolutely. And another way you can support us on the show is if you listen to it and you hear the commercials on the podcast version of the show, and you hear a product or service that you want to try, especially as now we're walking into Christmas. Well, a great way to let those sponsors know that they should keep coming back and sponsoring the Cine-Files is to try out those products using our code, because you get a great discount and you get to find out if there's something new you want to add to your life through these great clients and sponsors of ours.
And if you're interested in Patreon, now is the time, because we actually have a special holiday sale. It is 25% off of all the tiers on Patreon, including the annual membership. So that's some really, really big savings. And all you have to do is enter 9BCA3. That's 9BCA3 at the checkout. And you could also use this to give the gift of the Cine-Files for your favorite film lover during this holiday season.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? A lot of you have talked about how you'd like to share this show with other people, and a great way to do that is to get 25% off any tier in the Patreon and give that as a gift. Or if you've been hesitating, signing up. 25% off might motivate you to sign up, even for the year-long one, as Steve mentioned. So, yeah, come aboard the Patreon. We'd love to have you.
And where we left off in the film, we had just gone a little bit of a journey through memory lane as we met Alison Porchnick, which was Alvy's first wife, and why that didn't work out. And then we leap forward in the relationship. In this movie, it just has its own sort of rhythm in terms of the way it handles this nonlinear story. But now we leap forward to, I think, one of the most fun moments in the relationship of Alvy and Woody, and that is when they are chasing down some escaped lobsters in the house.
Alvy, now don't panic, please.
Maybe we should just call the police. Dial 911. It's the lobster squad.
I mean, those are those things that you know, Steve. Of course, you've been in relationships. Anybody listening to us has been in relationships. You have those little moments where, like, those are the memories you remember if you are able to have any kind of a healthy perspective on your relationship when you look back after it's ended. Those are the moments that you realize, like, how much you are enjoying each other and how meant to be you seem to be in those moments. And so remembering those moments or memories are nice. And then we see that's just like, we see them before his paranoia and all his stuff gets involved. There's really a genuine fun interaction between the two of them. And it's nice to have that element for us as the audience as well.
I think there's a thing about this movie that it opens up the door to moments within a relationship that had never been public. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, because like this moment, I have never had the chase lobsters around moment, but it's just as you said, like your relationship, you will have this moment. The night that, you know, the roof leaked and you had to rush and get something to do, you know, the night, you know, when you got lost in that city and then you ended up at that weird restaurant and had like a great night, or the, you know, like those are the things.
Yep.
And they are uniquely and specially that relationship.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And that is what it will be exposed later on when we go back to this moment. We're trying to repeat it. But right now, we're just running around. It's all very funny. I love the line where Woody says,
Talk to him. You speak shellfish. Hey, Annie, there's a big lobster behind the refrigerator. I can't get it out. Maybe if I put a little dish of butter sauce here with a nutcracker, it'll run out the other side. You know,
I'm gonna get my camera. Hold on.
This is also a rare moment for Woody Allen on screen. He almost never plays the kind of, how can I say this, vulnerable, in trouble type of situation. Like he's always like neurotic and he's always got retorts and whatever. But this is a little more of the walls down, playful, regular human kind of Woody that isn't playing a character. And this is rare to see in his films, these moments.
I think one of the interesting things about this movie is there's no question in the early parts of the relationship that Annie is really into Alvy.
Yes.
Like and so this has to, I don't think we could just go, this is just, you know, a jerk. Like this is just a manipulative, self-involved, depressing guy.
Right.
He is actually really fun and really funny, you know?
Yeah.
Have you ever cooked a live lobster, by the way?
Not my jam, brother. I don't cook live things. Just isn't my thing. No judgment anybody else who does.
I've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure Lindley has too as a chef. So yeah.
Oh, of course she has. Of course she has.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that happens is that Annie goes to get her camera, which isn't a thing that we talk about a whole bunch in the movie, but she's a photographer. And so she's I love her trying to get that pictures with Woody holding the lobster. It's all great. And now we're in a tracking shot as they walk along the shore. It's beautifully lit. It looks gorgeous.
So here's what I want to know. What am I your first big romance?
Oh, no. No.
Really? Who was?
Oh, well, let's see. There was Dennis from Chippewa Falls High School.
And this is the style of this movie. As soon as you say that, now we're gonna go see Dennis.
Yes. Yeah.
But we're not gonna see Dennis in just a flashback because it's Alvy, who has never met Dennis, who is narrating and describing who he thinks Dennis was.
The local kid probably would meet you in front of the movie house on Saturday night.
And then Annie walks in looking fantastically 50s.
Oh, God, you should have seen what I looked like then.
Oh, I can imagine. Probably the wife of an astronaut.
And so there's this weird thing of he's imagining what this was like. She's remembering what this is like. And we're seeing what the version of this image is, you know?
To put it a visual in our heads, so to speak.
And then we cut to Annie leaning against a wall and John Glover looking so perfectly 70s actor, poet, artsy guy is talking her up.
I think it's cute. Do you think this only existed in the 70s? Guys like this, they're still around. Every
I'm
decade.
saying this particular look is the 70s. Scummy actors, guys, are eternal.
Yeah.
Then there was Jerry, the actor.
So before we were hearing them both describe this memory, and now, again, this is what made my head explode, and it still is a huge influence on me.
Yeah.
Annie and Alvy in the present tense walk into the past tense to watch Annie interact with this acting teacher.
Look at you. You're such a clown.
I look pretty.
Well, yeah, you always look pretty, but that guy with you.
And this is the first example of this technique that we're going to use, right? Because we'll see it later when they visit Alvy's home, when he was his childhood home, right? So it's an interesting, like, Tarantino gets so much credit for messing with styles in his movies. And of course, as the new Kill Bill that's out, there's like an additional animated sequence in that film. And Woody does it. Woody's doing, there's an animated sequence in this film. So you have to think that this film influenced Tarantino, or one of the films that influenced Tarantino, to mess with styles and mess with certain type of genres in one movie and be confident enough that the audience will go along with it,
And then, man, this is some good actor crap.
Acting is like an exploration of the soul. It's very religious, like a kind of liberating consciousness. It's like a visual poem.
I get PTSD with guys like that. I was never one of those guys. To me, acting was very nuts and bolts. I never was one of those dudes, so watch it. But we always had guys like that in classes. And yes, they always got the girls. And yes, they always treated them like dog shit. And yes, they always made them be the focus of their manias, So PTSD like crazy. But I also like that. But also, Steve, you and I know, like, sometimes we'll remember what we look like in the past, or scenes from our lives in the past. And this is a great way to use film to kind of put our memories of how we relive our old moments and what we look like, what we acted like, the people we allowed ourselves to be seduced by or be attracted to. It's a really smart way to do that feels universal for people who are watching.
Well, and it allows you to do all these things on all these different levels, because on the one hand, we're seeing the scene, which you could have just done with a flashback.
Right.
But it's also them seeing the scene and commenting on the scene and reacting to the scene and how they feel about the scene. So we get all these different levels all at the same time. Yeah. But then we hear the Annie from in that time period. Yeah. You can see her doing exactly what we see her do with Alvy in this movie, of trying to keep up and not look embarrassed that she's not 100% getting or agreeing with what's going on, because she is an agreeable person.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Right. Yeah, I think I know exactly what you mean when you say religious.
You do?
Oh, come on. I mean, I was younger.
Hey, that was last year.
But I think what's interesting is that she's going along with him in the memory for this one, right? The first one, not so much, but this one, yes. And I also think it's fascinating because Alvy's portrayal of these two guys are, of course, to mock them. But of course, if someone was to watch Alvy, they would also be able to mock Alvy in some of the ways that he acts.
Oh, yeah.
Things. So I think it's funny that there's a bit of judgment for these two guys, and they come across looking like utter doofuses compared to him. But someone could look at him and what he's doing throughout this movie and ridicule him to pieces as well. So it's a funny place of judgment, but also you are ripe to be judged as well.
I mean, I think it's a great point. I mean, it's like him, complaining about anti-Semitism and then, calling the guys cheech and stuff. Like, I think it's such a great point on his hypocrisy. Yeah. And I think that there's this emergence in this film of Annie's. I don't think Annie can take him down at all or deconstruct him at all at the beginning of the movie. But as we go on, she starts to figure out, this guy is flawed. Because she says,
hey, listen, I mean, he was a terrific actor, and look at him. He's neat looking, and he was emotional. Hey, I don't think you like emotion too much.
That obviously is nailing him, but you don't actually get to sit with that line, because the next thing happens is John Glover kneels in front of her and says,
touch my heart with your foot.
I may throw up.
I think that acting exercise is still going, still ongoing.
He was creepy.
Yeah. I think you're pretty lucky I came along.
Oh, really? Well, la-di-da.
La-di-da. If anyone had ever told me that I would be taking out a girl who used expressions like la-di-da.
Oh, that's right. You really like those New York girls.
Well, no, not only.
Oh, I'd say so. You married two of them.
It's so funny. Like this little walk along the shore is how we're getting all of our flashbacks to all of the previous relationships and how they got here.
I think every relationship, you have that conversation, right? About your past people and where you're at, what you think about them. And this is a nice universal way to get us into this. The thing that's great about her and the way she's written in this movie, Steve, is that she's an evolving person constantly throughout the movie. And she evolves faster than Alvy because she's not as caught up with all of the judgment and judging and all that stuff as Alvy is. She's much more about experiencing the world and then learning from the experiences to evolve. Not consciously, just naturally. And I think that's the gift of the performance of what she does here. Because you could easily say, oh, she's a bit airheaded or a bit flighty, but it's actually, she's a woman who experiences the world and she's actually smart. And step by step, as she embraces her power, embraces her intelligence, that, as you said, by the end, she could deconstruct Alvy like no problem. And probably anybody else in her life.
One of my favorite lines from Tom Lehrer, and the only line I've actually plagiarized, and I used this line in my life, is life is like a sewer. What you get out of it depends on what you put into it.
Okay.
And the reason I bring it up is that, like, Alvy's been going to therapy for 15 years. We're going to hear about that in a little while.
Yeah.
Annie goes to therapy and gets a great experience right away. Why?
Yeah.
Because she's actually trying to grow.
Exactly.
And Alvy is not.
Yeah.
What you get out of it depends on what you put into it. Alvy sees the world as a terrible place. He believes the world is a terrible place. He believes he cannot be happy, and he is not trying to change it for most of the movie.
And I bet he's probably gone through a bunch of therapists till he found one who agrees with him about how terrible the world is.
And now we're going to see one of his other relationships that don't quite work, because we cut to this very sophisticated intellectual kind of party, and there is Robin, one of his wives, played by Janet Margolin.
There's Henry Drucker. He has a chair in history at Princeton. Oh, and the short man is Herschel Kaminsky. He has a chair in philosophy at Cornell.
Yeah, 2 more chairs. They got a dining room set.
Why are you so hostile?
Yeah, Janet Margolin, an actress. She was born in New York City to a Jewish family. Her father was a Russian-Jewish accountant who founded the Nephrosis Foundation, which is now the Kidney Foundation of New York. And her mother was a dental assistant. So I wonder how they met here. But yeah, she went to the High School of Performing Arts. She did a screen test and was urged to sign a contract immediately. And boom, she was working on stage and on camera really early at a young age at the New York Shakespeare Festival, 18 years old, man. And she was nominated for a Tony Award. Then in 1962, she did her first movie, then starred with Steve McQueen and Nevada Smith, Marlon Brando, and Morituri. And she was named one of Hollywood's brightest new stars by the Baltimore Sun in the late 60s. She did Take the Money and Run. Then she was in Last Embrace with Roy Scheider, which is Jonathan Demme's film. And of course, here with Woody Allen and Annie Hall, and sadly passed away at the age of 50. Only 50 years old in 1993. Her last film appearance was in Ghostbusters 2 in 1989. Yeah, she was married to Jerry Brandt and to Ted Wass, who some of you may remember Ted Wass as well as an actor-director in our business. So yeah, sad situation to ever pass away so young, but certainly lived a very full life of a lot of work. And I like her here in the movie as a contrast to Carol Kane.
I think they do such a great job nailing her character, and not only their relationship, but her view of what a relationship is supposed to be like. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because they are coming into this space. It's with a purpose. It is a business meeting. And it's almost like, she is whispering all of the connections to him ahead of time, so he'll know who all of these important people are, so we can make all of these connections.
Be nice to the host because he's publishing my book. Hi, Doug. Douglas Wyeth, the foul rag and bone shop of the heart.
Because he's evolved too, right? Like involved in terms of his career. Like he was with Carol Kane, who was essentially a PA for this political situation, and then he gets out of that and gets with this woman who clearly is connected all over New York, wants to be a person who climbs up the social ladder, but he is not 100% on board with that either. But he plays to it, and she puts up with it because she sees this relationship. Now, Steve, can I ask you a sensitive ethnic question? I mean, is this a particularly Jewish relationship in terms of upwardly mobile within the society, the people they're talking about? Or how do I
Totally.
look at this specifically in this context ethnically.
Well, like I said, so for, obviously we don't have to say that not all Jews are the same and not all, like these are, but, and as I said, I think in the first part is like the Brooklyn Jewish family that Alvy comes from, I do not recognize as my family. That was not like, that's not sort of, but this room, totally. This is, I mean, because there were, like I said, my parents' friends are doctors and lawyers and dentists and optometrists and professors and people that, are well educated and think of themselves as sophisticated. And so this is, this totally makes sense. Mm. And her performative way of moving into this party is so... I mean, to be honest, I'm way more Team Alison Porchnick than I am Team Robin in terms of Alvy's previous relationships. We said there are many, many times in this movie where I feel like Alvy. Yeah. And, oh my God, I'm going to be at this party and I have to be nice to these people for 2 hours and be supportive and engaged because that is what my spouse needs.
I always wonder what it's like for people who are the people in those parties to watch these scenes in these movies. Like, do they recognize that they're the people in those parties, or do they not have enough self-awareness to realize they're the people in those parties? I always wonder about that.
Well, it's funny. I thought you were going to ask something different because what I wonder is like, are they having fun? I mean, because a lot of people, they could be having this could be completely sincerely who they are.
100%.
But it's not sincerely, obviously, who Alvy is.
I'm so tired of spending evenings making fake insights with people who work for dysentery.
Commentary.
Oh, really? I'd heard that commentary and dissent had merged and formed dysentery.
Yeah, taking shots at a lot of critics in this movie. And a lot of society critics,
Well, and she says, and I think this is critical, she says...
No jokes, these are friends, okay?
Saying no jokes to Alvy is a ridiculous statement. His only way of interacting in the world is jokes.
Right.
Like that is who he is. Right. And she does not want him to be who he is.
You also have to wonder like why she got with him. You know what I'm saying? What is it about him that was she slightly in the lower position socially, and then she's trying to move up, and being with him helps her to move up, but she has to curate how he interacts with her friends because she wants to get to a certain position. It's an interesting relationship in the brief time we have with it in terms of the dynamics.
I think it's a great question. And off the top of my head, sort of what I'm thinking is like, Alvy is a person who stumbles around in the world and always feels like he doesn't know what he's doing and that he's nervous and that he's, and Robin is a person who always knows what she's doing or seems to always know what she's doing. Yes. And I wonder if he kind of, after Alison Porchnick, that he went, oh, well, she is Robin is an upwardly mobile, intellectually successful, go-getting person, and maybe that's what I need. That's what I wonder.
Yeah, maybe.
But what he needs right now is to watch the Knicks game because he's up in this room. She finds him.
What is so fascinating about a group of pituitary cases trying to stuff a ball through a hoop?
Oh, the way the intellectuals talk about sports drives me insane. Because intellectual people are just as stupid in their pursuits, in my opinion.
Totally.
And so to me, there is it's equal in terms of the ridicule it can deserve. And one side should not judge the other side in this kind of stuff. It's mind blowing. And I always think it reeks of jealousy, whether it's athletes making fun of intelligent people or intelligent people making fun of athletes. It's all jealousy at its core, in my opinion.
I agree. To me, it's like, okay, you staked out your area that you're into sports. Or you're into cooking, or you're into whatever. And then you want to go, and my area that I'm into is the best. And cool people do the thing I do, and not cool people do the other things. As opposed to going, oh, cool, you found your thing. That's not my thing. That's awesome that you do that thing. Your thing is as cool as my thing,
Yeah.
And actually, Alvy's answer is interesting.
What is fascinating is that it's physical. It's one thing about intellectuals. They prove that you can be absolutely brilliant and have no idea what's going on.
And then, as apparently he's been since he was 6.
But on the other hand, the body doesn't lie, as we now know.
And he pulls her onto the bed.
Stop acting happy.
No, it'll be great, because all those PhDs are in there, like discussing modes of alienation, and we'll be in here quietly humping.
It's great lines.
You're using sex to express hostility.
Is she wrong about that?
No, I think she's wrong about that. I don't think she's right about that. I think what he's doing is, how can I say this? It's not hostility. It's more he's using it to scoff or to undercut the whole situation. It's all a mock. That's it. He's using the sex to mock the idea that they all have to act a certain way in order to be part of the intelligentsia. And he's trying to get her to like go into the more primal areas of it all. Because, you know, Alvy is the kind of guy who thinks he's the smartest person in the room. Even though he secretly suspects he's not. You know? So his way of escaping with him.
I think it is also an element of control of her,
Sure.
which is here she's coming in where she has a whole agenda of wanting to please all these intellectual people.
Right.
And he's like, I'm not going to let you do that. Because you're mine, you know.
Right.
I'm going to take you up in this room.
But it's funny because he won't do what she wants him to do, but he wants her to do what he wants her to do there in the
Exactly.
back, right? And neither one of them is going to give in to the other.
Well, this is the whole movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to miss the first 2 minutes of the movie, so you will watch a 4-hour documentary on Nazis again. Like that, you know, it's always about him and what he wants at that moment. Yeah. Speaking of which,
why do you always reduce my animal urges to psychoanalytic categories? He said as he removed her brassiere.
And then we cut to later with them in bed, and we hear a loud siren, and it is not happening for them.
The city can't close down. What do you want me to do? Have them shut down the airport too? No more flights so we can have sex?
I'm too tense. I need a Valium.
She's not in a good place. I do not think this marriage is going well in this scene.
Not at all.
This is bad.
Yeah.
My analyst says I should live in the country and not in New York.
Well, I can't live. We can't have this discussion all the time. The country makes me nervous. You got crickets and it's quiet. There's no place to walk after dinner, and there's the screens with the dead moths behind them, and you got the Manson family possibly, and you got Dick and Perry.
Okay.
I had to look up what Dick and Perry is. Dick and Perry is the two murderers in Cold Blood, written by Truman Capote.
Oh,
That's
wow.
So it's the Manson family and these murderers from In Cold Blood. But that went right by me until about an hour before we did this call. I actually looked it up.
Where are you going?
I'm going to take another in a series of cold showers.
So that's the end of that relationship. Let's go play some tennis.
Let's do it.
With Tony Roberts. And I like, just because it's so alien to me, how they set up these tennis courts in New York in the winter, because they're walking through all these tubes for these enclosed spaces because it's cold. Of course, I grew up in California, so I never saw that.
Right.
And again, he's complaining about anti-Semitism.
No, Max, that's a very convenient out. Every time some group disagrees with you, it's because of anti-Semitism.
And man, this line could be right out of today.
Don't you see the rest of the country looks upon New York like we're left-wing communist, Jewish, homosexual pornographers? I think of us that way sometimes, and I live here.
I mean, during all the Mondami election that was just happening, that's, you know, communist, Jewish, homosexual pornographers is pretty much how a lot of the country sees New York. And I think the line, I think of us that way sometimes, and I live here, is exactly the perfect kind of joke.
Yeah.
I really love it.
Max, if we lived in California, we could play outdoors every day in the sun.
Sun is bad for you. Everything our parents said was good is bad. Sun, milk, red meat, college.
Again, all could be said today.
It's the thing about Alvy throughout the whole movie. He is so resistant to any kind of change, any kind of disruption in his patterns. And everyone is trying to get him to grow or to be open to things, but it's not really what he wants to do throughout this whole movie. And even Tony Roberts pitching California, there is an immediate pushback on that and all the dangers of going out there. Just like we just saw him listing all the dangers to Janet Margolin's character, to his second wife. You know, he's just always thinking about all the bad things that can happen rather than all the good things that can happen.
Yep, 100%. And so we started with Annie where the relationship was not in a great place when we were in the line for the movie. And then we kind of go back to a little bit earlier where the relationship does seem to be in a pretty good place. And we've had a kind of romantic sequences there, been around each other with the lobster scene and all that stuff. And now we're going to go all the way back to the very beginning of relationship, because now we walk onto the tennis courts and there is a very nervous and very cute Annie Hall, and they introduce themselves. And then they play, and all of them play pretty well. And I love, man, Diane Keaton is so great at being joyful and bad at tennis and having fun doing it. It's awesome.
This is such rich people playing tennis, though. She's wearing a blouse with the collar up. Like, it's so ridiculous. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Well, you don't get into this tennis club in New York that encloses it for the winter unless you have some money.
I have never worn any of this to play tennis, and I played tennis for a majority of my life until I moved to LA. And yeah, I loved it to pieces. But I always wore, like, of course, workout clothes. None of this stuff.
I never had any of these outfits, but my mom definitely had a tennis outfit. Definitely, 100%. I think actually what Annie is doing in this scene illustrates exactly the point you were making, because she sucks at tennis and she showed up and she's totally having a great time. Yes. Something that Alvy would never do.
Nope.
And then it's after, and Alvy is kind of putting his racket away, and out comes Diane Keaton in that outfit.
The iconic outfit.
The tie and the vest and the whole thing. By the way, the costume designer is Ruth Morley. She based a lot of this on Diane Keaton's actual style, on things that she was wearing at the time. But this is a fashion moment. The Annie Hall outfit is so influential. It was on the cover of Time magazine, where they said, by the way, that Diane Keaton was the funniest woman working in film. And this was, you saw women wearing ties and these outfits of this sort of, and I feel like part of what this outfit is like, it's like a reaction to feminism. Mm-hmm. It's saying, yes, I can wear this male clothes and wear it in this fun, goofy, expressive way.
And something I didn't know and discovered after her passing is a lot of obituaries, a lot of women who were influenced by her, a lot of stars spoke about how her style, her fashion sense really spoke to them. And like, they didn't know that they could look this way and pull it off until they saw Diane Keaton and Annie Hall. And so Diane became kind of a fashionista for a lot of women throughout her entire life, which I had no idea that was an element of her status as a celebrity in our world.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Hi.
And then there's this sort of weird, awkward moment, and then she says,
well, bye.
What I love about the way they do this is that it was obvious from the awkward moment that she wanted a little bit more.
Yes.
And then when Alvy gives her a little bit more by saying she plays very well, which she obviously does not.
Yeah.
She just is so thrilled that he said that.
Oh, yeah? So do you. Oh, God, what a dumb thing to say, right? I mean, you say it, you play well, and then right away I have to say you play well. Oh, God, Annie. Well, oh, well. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
It is amazing.
In a way, she is just like Alvy, but in a different approach. Like, she is commenting on the societal expectations of an interaction like this.
Exactly.
As she's reacting like this, right? She is doing the things you're supposed to do in those moments, but also commenting on them in her la-di-das and in her moments in between the lines, which is great. Which I think is kind of what Alvy senses, and it begins his attraction for her in that moment.
I think she's into Alvy. I think, you know what I mean? Like, she wanted to talk to him. She wants this interaction to happen. And then you could see all of her embarrassment and all the stuff happening along with it.
You want a lift?
Oh, why? You got a car?
No, I was going to take a cab.
Oh, no, I have a car.
So, I don't understand. If you have a car, so then why did you say, do you have a car, like you wanted a lift?
And then again, her response is just adorable.
I don't know. I wasn't, I got this VW out there. What a jerk, yeah. Would you like a lift?
She really is desperate to have this moment with him, I think.
And I imagine he must have been pitched to her, right? By Tony Roberts, by the girl who's there with her as well on the court. So, he must have been pitched in some sort of intellectual. She clearly finds him attractive so there must have been some interactions with the court that like got her to solidify her attractiveness, to put her in this position to be awkward about this. But I have a commentary about this scene, Steve, that occurred to me as I was watching it. I wonder what you think. To me, this is really kind of genius. And I've never read this anywhere, and maybe someone else has already written a whole book about this. But I was watching the scene, and I thought to myself, this is a great switching of gender norms. And by that, I mean, it's Diane Keaton who is being, in essence, not the aggressor, but certainly the one who wants to go out on this date with Alvy. And she's wearing a tie, and she's standing there full on, straight up in the frame. And it's Alvy who's got his back to her, his butt slightly out. So it's he's almost assuming the feminine role that we have seen in scenes like this in other movies in the past. And she is assuming the more masculine role because of the tie, even though she's goofy and stumbling over words and awkward, but she is assuming the more masculine role. The way she's framed, full on, straight chest to the camera. He is from behind looking over, tucking things in his bag, his butt slightly out a little bit, sticking out a little bit. So to me, there's a little bit more of switching of the norms. Like they're fucking around with gender dynamics or gender norms. And I think it's brilliant. It's really subtle, but I love it. I really do, watching it this time around with the Cine-Files brain in my head. And I'm just like, there's a commentary they're making, especially in the 70s when gender dynamics were being flipped on its head all over the place. So I just think this is a deceptively brilliant commentary on the idea of how things have been shown in the past and taking the piss out of it in other movies.
I think it's a great point. And the other thing to add to this that hadn't occurred to me until you were speaking is like, oh, the other thing's going on. Alvy's famous. I mean, he might not be huge famous, but at this time, she has seen him on Johnny Carson.
That's a good point. Yes, she has. Yeah. And she's the one that has the car. Again, very male thing. She has the car. He doesn't. Now, for New York, of course, it makes sense. But most people watching it don't live in New York. So for us, it wouldn't be a weird thing to have a car. And so the fact that she has a car and he doesn't, I think is really interesting as well.
Speaking of cars, let's cut to her driving in her VW convertible, which is a perfect car choice, and driving very scary. And I think they do a very good job with the editing and the way this is filmed of making it just scary enough.
Yeah. Wait, you're not from New York, right?
Chippewa Falls.
Right. Where?
Wisconsin.
You're driving a tad rapidly.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm a very good driver.
As you swerve past some other car. And then she tries to offer him gum, which is dangerous. And then he finds a sandwich in the sitting in the car.
Again, destroying the gender expectations of a woman at a time in the 70s, right? It's very male to have like fast food in the car or sandwich in the car. Like we might not feel that way now, but back then, this is actually kind of groundbreaking to show a woman who is very much a little bit more of a messy type of thing in her car. So again, I think it's just really smart in how they're messing with gender dynamics.
It's the same thing I felt about the lobster scene, which is this is what humans are really like. You get in somebody's car and you go like, oh, this car is kind of gross, or this car is very clean, or this car, you know what I mean? Like you're always finding out about them as you go. And I think here at this scene after we park, it's sort of a decision moment, which is because it's like she wants to keep this interaction going. He is trying to decide, I think, exactly what he wants out of this as we're going along.
You're a wonderful tennis player.
Oh.
You're the worst driver I've ever seen in my life. That's any place, the worst. Europe, any place. Asia.
Yeah.
And I love what you're wearing.
Oh, you do? Yeah. Oh, well, it's this tie is a present from Grammy Hall.
Her whole way of expressing, I think herself is she's entirely alien to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you kidding? Would you do? Grow up in a Norman Rockwell painting?
Yeah, I know.
Your Grammy?
I know, it's pretty silly, isn't
She
it?
said my Grammy never gave gifts, She was too busy getting raped by Cossacks.
And now this moment where, is this the end? You've given me the ride, and she is the one who invites him up, which, as you said, this is the mid-70s. This is a big deal.
And I don't want people to misunderstand me. Of course, women through time have been at times the aggressor in relationships, at times been the one who wear pants. That was a big deal in the 40s or 30s when pants were a thing. Of course, but to see it on screen like this, it was not something you had seen in film. So it was kind of groundbreaking.
Hey, well, listen, you want to come upstairs and have a glass of wine or something? No, I mean, I mean, you don't have to. You're probably late and everything.
No, that'll be fine. I won't mind. Sure.
Sure.
No, I got time.
Okay.
Sure. I got nothing. Nothing to my analyst appointment.
Oh, wait, you see an analyst?
Yeah, just for 15 years.
15 years.
Which I think means something entirely different to Annie than it does to Alvy, you know? And she does invite him up. We go upstairs, and then he says, as he's looking at her books,
Sylvia Plath, interesting poetess whose tragic suicide was misinterpreted as romantic by the college girl mentality.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
It's so fucking condescending. Well, and I think I was sort of, this is where I mean, like, when I was younger, I just went, oh, well, this is a smart guy. That must be true. And I thought, you know, like I was taken in by, the college girl mentality, as opposed to like treating what people like with some respect, you know?
Yeah. But I think that comment could even live nowadays. People would make that kind of comment about her as well, yeah.
You know what it is? It goes to what we were saying before about I'm into this versus I'm into that.
Yeah.
Is like I'm into sports versus, is that, this is the perfect example of like, oh, you like Sylvia Plath. Great. Cool. You know, it doesn't have to be part of the college girl mentality.
And look at this place. I mean, it's so unkempt. There's clothes on top of the air conditioner. There's like books all over the place, magazines all over the place. She pulls out the wine bottle from some bottom cabinet down there in the living room. In essence, this is like a studio apartment almost. And so, again, I just think it's real groundbreaking how they're portraying, like destroying these ideas of how a woman's supposed to be on camera and how her place is supposed to look, how her car, all these things. And I love it.
She points out some photographs on her wall of her family, including Dwayne, which is Christopher Walken. It's just great to see him here. And then he points out Grammy Hall, and that's Sadie. He asks who Sadie is. And then she goes on a classic Annie Hall ramble.
Well, Sadie met Grammy through Grammy's brother George. George was real sweet, you know. He had that thing. What is that thing where you fall asleep in the middle of a sentence? You know, what is it?
Narcolepsy.
Narcolepsy. Right.
And I'm sure you've been in this situation where you started to tell a story, and then as you got into it, you really wish you weren't in the middle of this story and you could get out of it.
George went to the Union, you see, to get his free turkey because the Union always gave George this free turkey at Christmas time because he was shell-shocked, you know what I mean, in the First World War. Anyway, so...
And you could see Alvy is just watching going, where the hell is this thing going?
So George is standing in line, getting his free turkey, but the thing is that he falls asleep and he never wakes up, so he's dead. He's dead. Yeah. Oh, dear. Well, terrible, huh? Wouldn't you say? I mean, that's pretty awful.
What Diane Keaton does in that monologue, the layers of insecurity and trying to make it work and embarrassment and self-deprecation and all that stuff is amazing.
She is not repressed. He is repressed. There is the two. Woody would never, Alvy would never have a monologue like this. It would always have a point. Hers are, as you said, can be all over the place and then lost in the middle, but they still end in such a sweet way that you find it endearing rather than irritating.
I think that's the key, is that if he did have this moment where he rambled in a way that he didn't like, it'd be another 3 years of therapy discussing how terrible it was and probably the anti-Semitism of the people who didn't laugh when he made that joke and probably all the judge and all his opinions about everybody else. And Annie has that moment and goes, oh, I sounded kind of dumb. All right, moving on.
It's a great story, though. I mean, I really made my day. Hey, I think I should get out of here, because I think I'm imposing.
Why does he want to get out of here at this moment?
I don't think it's a judgment of her. I think she disarms him. And I think he's really starting to like her. And getting out of the situation is probably his first response, when he senses this is something more than just a hookup or something. And so I think that's why he wants to get out. Why do you think he wants to?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of the opposite, which is that she just did this totally crazy ramble. And he goes, maybe I don't want to be in this business here. That's what I see. It's like, because as you know, far better than me, having dated much more than I have, you have your crazy radar up on the first, okay, who is this? Is there going to be some crazy here? Are we going to are we going to be okay? Yeah. And I think he's a little bit iffy. They end up outside. I think this is absolutely brilliant.
Well, You're what Grammy Hall would call a real Jew.
Jesus.
I mean, that's a lot of a line.
What I think is great about this, and not saying a line like this, but I think, again, she is open. She is going to say what she thinks. She is not censoring herself, even though maybe she should, and that's something she'll learn, of course, as she gets older, this character. But in this moment, she's just saying it not from a place of judgment, not from a place of hate. She's just saying it. And Alvy is like taken aback because he has spent, as you said and pointed out, Steve, what are we, 30 minutes into the movie? We've seen him talk about anti-Semitism strongly twice. But now here's a moment where someone says something that could legitimately be seen by us as anti-Semitic because everything we've heard before is through Alvy's interpretation of it. We didn't witness it. And so he is, and you see Woody does a really great job acting in this moment because he is taken aback by this and he doesn't know how to process it. All his talk about anti-Semitism, here's something that could legitimately be that. And he is almost not sure how to respond to it. So it's an interesting thing. She puts him on his heels in that way.
I think it's a great moment. And I think part of it is that what she is saying is really insensitive.
Yes.
But you
100%.
can totally tell from her attitude that it doesn't reflect her feelings. You know what I mean? Right. Like you could go like, yes, you probably shouldn't have said that, Annie. That wasn't that cool. But it's not like, and then this is, goes in all the things we talked about today about how much does intent matter? Her intent was not to be anti-Semitic. Her intent was what she says, which is,
yeah, well, she hates Jews. She thinks they just make money. But let me tell you, I mean, she's the one. And is she ever? I'm telling you.
Well, having had friends and still friends who are black and married white women, I've heard the stories from the white women's mouths, from their mouths, about how the grandparents have treated my black friends and their mixed children and the way they speak about it. So it is still a thing that is there, and I think people have to reckon with it all the time. And so her way of reckoning with it is just being out with it, but also, making it clear that she doesn't feel this way, as you said, Steve. But that's just her grandmother, and a lot of people have used that in describing their grandparents in times past.
Yeah, I think this is the thing about Annie Hall is she's going to grow as a character. I don't think that Annie Hall at the end of the movie would say this to a Jewish person. Right. I think she would learn, and she would grow.
So did you do those photographs in there or what?
Yeah, I sort of dabble around,
And then we get, as they speak to each other, the subtitles of what they are thinking.
Yeah.
And I think this is, again, it's one brilliant filmic move after another,
Yep.
So she says, I dabble around, and then the subtitle reads, I dabble, listen to me. What a jerk.
They're wonderful. They have a quality.
You're a great looking girl is the subtitle. And I think that, this is the reality. The reality is we're having a conversation and we're going like, how is this going over? Are they liking me, not liking me? Do I sound good? Do I sound bad? Do I make sense? All that.
So true.
Photography is interesting because, it's a new art form and a set of aesthetic criteria have not emerged yet.
But his thoughts, as he's saying this intellectual thing, is, I wonder what she looks like naked. And now she realizes she's in an intellectual conversation, and it's because this is yes and, that now she has to respond in an intellectual way where she's pretty insecure about.
Aesthetic criteria, you mean whether it's a good photo or not?
And then her subtitle is, I'm not smart enough for him. Hang in there.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is going to be, for the rest of their relationship, is going to be an insecurity of hers.
Yeah.
And then Woody speaks in complete bullshit.
The medium enters in as a condition of the art form itself.
His subtitle reading, I don't know what I'm saying. She senses I'm shallow. and he has a great take. Woody is so good at double takes. And his one, after he says this line, and he realizes how stupid he sounds, is just really funny. She thinks, God, I hope he doesn't turn out to be a schmuck like the others.
Well, to me, it's all instinctive, I just try to feel it, I try to get a sense of it and not think about it so much.
And there's a trail off at the end of her line, which you can hear her insecurity come in. and force that trail off, it's great.
So let me ask you something.
Yes.
How does she know the word schmuck? This is a Yiddish word.
That is a great question.
Right? She clearly comes from a waspish upbringing, to use that term. So how would she know that term? And I have a feeling that although we've seen the guy at the high school and the guy, John Glover, she may have a thing for Jewish guys. And
I think it's very possible.
Right? And so she's like kind of co-opted a couple of slang terms from her relationships or interactions with Jewish guys. And she says a schmuck like the others. So to me, I think she's implying she's dated other Jewish men in the past. And they turned out to be schmucks.
Well, I don't think the Jewish men were schmucks. Dating Jewish guys. No, Jewish guys are the best, John.
She
learned the word schmuck from the Jewish dates, but it was all the other guys that actually were schmucks.
None of the Jewish guys were schmucks.
I mean, I'm just feeling a little bit of anti-Semitism in this podcast. No, I never thought about that before. You're right. She had to have dated a Jewish guy before in order to learn that word. Because schmuck is... Grammy Hall has never said the word schmuck.
Never in her life. Yeah.
And then then he does ask her out. And then she remembers that she has a singing gig.
Oh, really? Where? Yeah. Well, I'd like to come.
Oh, no.
I'm interested.
No. I mean, I'm auditioning sort of at this club. I don't...
No,
it's my first time.
That's okay, because I know exactly what that's like. Listen, you're going to like nightclubs. They're really a lot of fun.
Cut to the nightclub. And immediately we hear feedback, we hear bad sound, we hear the audience kind of talking and chatting and plates being delivered. And she is singing a rendition of It Had to Be You.
It had to be you. It had to be you. I wandered around and finally found the somebody who...
Which I will draw your attention back to the early potential titles for this movie, one of which was It Had to Be Jew, which I can't not think about now when watching the scene. I am absolutely certain you've been on stage at some point when nobody was paying attention and people are talking and you just got to keep going.
I think of the scene in Soap Dish when Kevin Kline is trying to do Death of a Salesman.
Death of a Salesman, right.
The old people are coughing up their fucking dinner. It's just, it's the worst. Doing the trance. Oh, yeah. Did it for 6 people in the crowd, man. Not a reaction at all. Oh, God.
I was in this, I probably told you this story before, but I was in this play once with Soren, and it was like 12 people, and we were doing a play about World War I, ensemble play, super artsy and violent and sexual, a lot of nudity on stage. And there was one night, we had 12 people in the cast and 6 people in the audience. And I had a small part, but I had a monologue. And I had to come on stage and deliver straight to audience this monologue about how much I wanted to rape someone violently.
Oh, God.
It was the worst thing I've ever had to do ever in a play. And I just would walk out there. I walk out there, 6 people staring at me. I'm like, they all hate me. It's not that they hate my character. They just hate me. They hate this play. They hate that they're here. And we did that show for 6 weeks. Wow. I had to get up and do that. It was so brutal.
So in essence, you had the scene up on the rooftop. You were doing the lines from the monologue, but inside you were thinking, they hate me. They think I'm a schmuck.
Oh, totally. And I remember going to the director and saying, look, I don't think I get what I'm supposed to do. Like what is this supposed to be? Because it was a really weird play. And he was like, and my director just like, you're doing great. Everything you do is perfect. And I'm like, you're not helping me. And then we cut right from the club out to them walking down on the street. Again, long tracking shot as they walk. She's feeling terrible about the performance.
I'm so ashamed. I can't think.
Oh, listen, so the audience was a tad restless.
What do you mean a tad restless? Oh, my God. I mean, they hated me.
No, they didn't. You have a wonderful voice.
No, I'm going to quit.
No, I'm not going to let you. You have a great voice.
Which I think is great. I think, Alvy, this is one area I don't think he let her quit. I do think he supported her being a singer up until a point a little bit later on in this show where he stopped supporting her.
That's true.
Hey, listen.
What?
Give me a kiss.
Really?
I love her sort of excited, happy sound in her voice when she says that line.
Really?
Yeah, why not? Because we're just going to go home later, right? And there's going to be all that tension, we never kissed before, and I'll never know when to make the right move or anything. So we'll kiss now, we'll get it over with, and then we'll go eat, okay?
Oh.
We'll digest our food better.
Okay.
What do you think about this move?
I pulled this move all through high school.
Did it work?
I never asked a girl out in high school before kissing her. I always kissed her and then asked her out. It's very weird, but I was also very not confident because like as we've talked about, Steve, I was bullied a lot. I was a fat kid. It wasn't until I lost the weight, lifted weights, that all of a sudden like girls noticed me in high school. And so it was all like being in a candy store in a way. And so I had to like figure out how to, but I was still incredibly insecure. So my way in my fucked up brain, I thought, well, if they kiss me, they like me, then they can't turn me down if I ask them out. It's legitimately what I thought.
It seems logical. It's logical.
Yeah, for a 15-year-old, it seems logical, but for an adult, it's the dumbest thing in the world. But yes, I would talk with a girl who I liked for a while, and then at some point, randomly walking down the high school hallway, I would lean over and kiss her in front of everybody, or at the locker.
Wow.
Or something. And then I'd say, "Do you want to go out Friday night?" And I did this repeatedly, like girls in theater plays I was with, the band, in classes. So yeah, I did this repeatedly all through high school. It wasn't until I got to college my first trip to college that I understood like that's actually not the way you're supposed to fucking do it. You don't. So that was a rude awakening for me the first 2 years I was there about how different it is. You have to like ask them out because you're jumping a few levels, right? And I didn't understand that because I had no experience with it,
Well, it's a weird way. Part of what I think is really good about this movie is they actually talk about things that aren't being talked about, in many places. So they do kiss so they can digest their food better. And he goes, okay, so now we can go digest our food. And we head to the diner or deli. Alvy orders the corned beef, and she says,
Yeah. Oh, and I'm going to have a pastrami on white bread with mayonnaise and tomatoes and lettuce.
And there is a reaction. And I would like to discuss this moment briefly.
Please.
Which is that there are certain ways that you are supposed to do something within a cuisine and in other areas of culture as well. Which is like if I order, I go to a fancy steak place and say, yeah, I'd like that well done with a side of ketchup. That's not so cool. Ordering your pastrami sandwich on white bread with mayonnaise, tomatoes, and lettuce is incorrect at a New York Jewish deli. However, I also think, so on the one hand, you have Alvy's totally judgmental look of, I cannot believe the crime you are committing by not having it on rye with mustard, but I also believe that I actually go like, look, people actually can, if you want to have your pastrami on white bread with mayonnaise, tomatoes, and lettuce, that is your prerogative, But
I think it's, no, listen, I don't know if there's any truth to this, but as I said earlier, I think she has a thing for Jewish people, Jewish guys, but she also is very much the waspish upbringing, right?
Right.
So even the way the ingredients of the sandwich is her way of dipping into the Jewish pool without fully going Jewish. And so it's a perfect way to order her version of their sandwich or your sandwich, which I think is great.
It's after sex.
Yeah.
That was so nice. That was nice.
As Balzac said, there goes another novel.
I'm not even I understand the joke.
It's a great joke.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm wrecked.
You're wrecked.
I mean it. I will never play the piano again.
Here, you want some?
No, I don't use any major hallucinogenics because I took a puff about 5 years ago at a party.
Yeah.
I tried to take my pants off over my head.
Oh, I'm sorry. I love these jokes. I love some of these jokes so much.
They're just so good.
You're not going to believe this, but...
What?
And he moves in because they're going to have more sex. And this is key. I think this is key because we have seen sex be a problem, you know, we hear at the beginning in line, what, because of my sexual problem? Like, so we know it's a problem with them. He doesn't sleep with Alison Porchnick because of the Kennedy assassination. And then it's also a problem with Robin, and both in terms of him trying to seduce her, but then also in terms of her not being satisfied in the Valium and all that stuff. But at this moment, it's okay. Like, everything is working with him and Annie.
So much so that he's going back in again quickly after finishing the first time.
We're in the bookstore again. All of the books, you know, you could do a PhD thesis on any of these books. He has Ernst Becker, The Denial of Death, Western Thought from Paul Edwards.
I'm going to buy these books, I think, because I think you should read them, you know, instead of that cat book.
And I think it's also important to pay attention to how she's dressed here. This is not the Annie that we saw with bright colors and whites and khakis. This is a darker jacket. This is her hair down with intelligent glasses on, more of a flannel shirt, an olive set of pants. So it's almost like she's putting on the garb of the intellectual as she's becoming smarter and more aware of things from her own pursuits and her relationship with Alvy. You know?
It's such an interesting thing when you want to change the person you're with.
Yeah.
Because you're doing this strange thing of like, I'm into you, except I'm not into all big parts of you that I would like to throw out. You become a fixer-upper.
Yep. Or someone. And they're like, oh, you know, this house has great bones. If I can just make some changes, and by the time it's over, the house will be amazing. This person will be amazing once I'm done doing the things that I want to do with them, you know? So yeah, it's an interesting thing.
You know what just occurred to me is that in a weird way, everything is the 2 minutes that the movie has already started. And therefore, I can't have any of it.
Yeah.
If it cannot be perfect, I reject it entirely. He meets this person, Annie, who he does like and has a connection with. And now I have to fix the things that are wrong with her.
Right. Because they don't work. They're not the way I think they should be. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like in Diner, where Steve Guttenberg has to like test his potential wife on, I think it's the Baltimore Colts trivia, because she has to know all the important stuff before he will marry her. You know,
I'll take your word for it. I've never seen them.
It has been one of the earliest requests from one of our earliest patrons, my old friend Matt Grieber, who has begged us to do that movie since the beginning of the Cine-Files.
Let's put it on the schedule. I've never seen the movie. It'd be a great excuse to see the movie because I know
it's good.
It's a seminal film for a lot of people of a certain age.
Well, and you like Barry Levinson.
I do. I love Barry Levinson. And I like everybody in the cast.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
just one of those films that fell into that pocket where I wasn't old enough to watch it. And I never got around to swinging back to it when I got into my teenage years and 20s. So kind of like Big Chill. Big Chill took me forever to watch.
Oh, that was my sister's favorite movie when it came out. So I saw that a lot. Yeah.
I have a very pessimistic view of life. You should know this about me if we're going to go out. You know, I feel that life is divided up into the horrible and the miserable.
This is full on Woody Allen right here.
The horrible would be like, I don't know, terminal cases, you know, and blind people and cripples. I don't know how they get through life. It's amazing to me. You know, and the miserable is everyone else.
But again, this is When Harry Met Sally does a spin on this, right?
Totally.
Because
You're
Billy
right.
Crystal, Harry reads the last page of the book every time he gets a book in case he dies before he finishes the book. He always wants to know how the book ends, right? That's also a kind of a pessimistic view of life. And she even calls him out on that, Sally does, you know? And so, yeah, I have to say, I never, ever thought of this until we started doing the movie, Steve, how much it influenced When Harry Met Sally. It's very
I never did until you said it, and I hadn't thought about the dark thing until you just said it. But like, yeah, I think that the difference is that When Harry Met Sally is a happy movie, where it's really about them getting together, and that is not what Annie Hall is. You know,
right, exactly, and yeah, because he's Jewish, she's waspish, like it's all there. You know, so yeah.
Well, and really, When Harry Met Sally is all about them getting over their things so that they can be a couple, and that is again, that's not what this is.
Right.
We cut to their basically, which I think is always a fun and romantic game of they're in the park and they're just saying who the stories of the people they're seeing are.
Look at that guy. There's Mr. in the pink, Mr. Miami Beach there, you know? He's just come back from the gin rummy finals. I think where he's placed third.
I'm not gonna lie to you, we do this.
I've done this a lot. This is totally fun.
I love this.
Italian, right?
Him?
Does he look like?
Yeah, he's the mafia, linen supply business, or cement and contracting, I think.
And then we see a guy that looks a lot like Truman Capote, and we hear, oh, there's the winner of the Truman Capote lookalike contest. And that, in fact, is Truman Capote.
It's a really Truman Capote. I never knew that. That's great. That's great.
You are extremely sexy, unbelievably sexy. Yes, you are. Because you know what you are? You're polymorphously perverse.
Diane Keaton's so cute. She's just so adorable. And she goes,
You know what? You know, I like you. I really do like you.
Yeah, do you love me? That's a key question.
Yeah,
I know you've only known me a short while, but...
Well, I think that's sort of, yeah. Do you love me?
His response is fantastic.
I mean, love is too weak a word for... I love you. You know, I loathe you. I love you.
No.
With two F's, yes. I have to invent... Yeah, of course I...
Yeah.
Don't you think I do?
I don't know.
And then they kiss.
I mean, and it's framed so beautifully. I mean, what are the top 3 filmmakers who make you fall in love with New York? It has to be Scorsese, Woody Allen, and I don't know who else you would throw in the mix there.
Spike Lee.
Spike. Yes. Great point, Steve. Yes. I mean, because this is a beautiful shot. And of course, Manhattan, I think, is his greatest shot of New York. But this is such a beautiful shot. You know?
Manhattan's stunning.
Yeah.
And we're at his apartment because she is moving in and he is suddenly upset.
What do you mean? You're not going to give up your own apartment, are you?
Of course.
Yeah, but why?
This is the classic dude panic. You know, what have I gotten myself into? How can I get out of it?
You got a nice apartment.
I have a tiny apartment.
I know it's small.
That's right. It's got bad plumbing and bugs.
All right, granted, it has bad plumbing and bugs, but you say that like it's a negative thing. You know, bugs are entomology is a rapidly growing field.
And she turns to him, and this is that, and I'm sure you've had this moment in a relationship or friendship or whatever, where someone says a thing in a certain way that that reveals their actual feelings.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want me to live with you.
How I don't want you to live with me. Whose idea was it?
Mine.
Yeah. It was yours, actually, but I approved it immediately.
It's a great thing. And I like that this scene, it comes right after the scene where he says, you know, I know I'm rushing, but do you love me? Right?
Yeah.
And so it's okay for them to rush at his pace.
Exactly.
It's not okay for them to rush at her pace. And so out of that scene, she reads the signs from him that, well, he wants to move fast. And so she's like, let's move in together. And so there's a responsibility factor when you use that L word. It doesn't mean you have to move in with the person, but if you're going to rush to use that L word, there are expectations from people when you use that word. And so for her, you know, she jumped at it, and he probably got caught off guard because that's what she does to him, catches him off guard constantly because she's very much does what she feels is right for her. And he agreed to it, and now he's got the regret throughout that whole scene. So, yeah, if it's at his pace, fast, no problem. If it's fast at her pace, problem. It's the whole thing with Alvy is throughout the whole movie. You know?
Well, my guess is that she has spent the night at his apartment every night for the last 2 months, at least.
Yeah.
And so her apartment is just sitting empty, getting rent paid for it.
Yeah.
And I actually think Alvy has probably enjoyed her spending every night at his place as long as he had the safety blanket of that apartment is out there.
Yes, 100%.
I guess you think that I talked you into something, huh?
No, we live together, we sleep together, we eat together. Jesus, you don't want it to be like we're married, do you?
That line, he's been married twice,
yeah,
is such a, he doesn't know that he's saying something hurtful to her.
Right.
Or revealing something about where he sees the relationship going, but it is.
It's different because you keep your own apartment. Because, you know, it's there. We don't have to go to it. We don't have to deal with it. But it's like a free-floating life raft that we know that we're not married.
That little apartment is $400 a month, Alvy.
That place is $400 a month?
Yes, it is.
It's got bad plumbing and bugs.
So that joke, it's not just a joke, but it is the whole scene is constructed around that joke because that joke is revealing Alvy's hypocrisy.
Yeah.
That his whole thing was bullshit before, and this is bullshit now.
you don't think I'm smart enough to be serious about.
Which is something she said in the subtitle scene, and it is something that is going to haunt this relationship.
Hey, don't be ridiculous.
Then why are you always pushing me to take those college courses like I was dumb or something?
Because adult education's a wonderful thing. You meet a lot of interesting professors. You know, it's stimulating.
Does Alvy think she's not smart enough for him?
Yes, 1,000%.
I agree. Yeah.
But, of course, ironically, it'll be one of those professors that he gets upset about later. Again, because that's Alvy.
So we're back in a bedroom. I think this scene, in the way it's staged with her, kind of in her underwear, sitting on this chest, is just so real life. Like this is how people are,
I like that we're watching it from a distance. Not too far, just enough to feel like we're in the other room spying on them.
I like very much so.
Hey, listen, what do you think? You think we should go to that party in Southampton?
No, don't be silly. What do we need other people for? We should just turn out the lights, and play hide the salam or something.
Well, okay, listen, I'm going to get a cigarette, okay?
Because she needs to smoke some weed before they have sex.
Yeah.
And he says, and this line sounds so nasty to me.
Grass, right? The illusion that it will make a white woman more like Billie Holiday.
It's a rough thing to say to a singer, I think that's really not cool.
Good point.
And then it comes up that he doesn't like that she has to get high every time that they have sex.
Oh, you have to be artificially relaxed before we can go to bed?
Well, what's the difference anyway?
Oh, I'll give you a shot of sodium pentothal. You can sleep through it.
You're shaking your head, John. You're having a reaction. What's going on?
To me, this is, the Billie Holiday line, I get why that could be offensive. I think it's, Woody writing in a line to make a commentary about the liberal intelligence, in that, and white women.
Totally.
Right?
That is what he's commenting on.
Right, but I agree that you're 100% correct that saying it to a woman who's a singer, or who's like not confident in her voice, is not a smart thing to say, right? But the other part of it is that Alvy. This is the point of the movie where Alvy gets a little bit irritating for me, and you see a little bit more of the darker edges of his mania. It's not as cute. You're creating a construct of the relationship that doesn't exist, which is that she has to get high in order to have sex with you. That's not the issue. She likes to get high and have sex. That's the thing for her. But for you, you're taking it as a personal commentary on who you are as a lover, which is very reminiscent to what he did to Alison Porchnick and what he did to his second wife. It's always something that doesn't get him in the mood, right? It has to be quiet. We have to talk about all this other stuff in order for me to calm down and be able to have sex with you. So he doesn't like it that she's the one that has to kind of have things a certain way in order to have sex with him. And so he's creating problems that don't exist because he doesn't like that he's on the other side of the situations that he has been on with the two other women in his life. He gets a little irritating for me as the movie goes on from this point forward because of how he wants things so specifically his way, and he's willing to warp or try to warp Annie to make her fit what he wants. But she won't let herself be warped, which is great.
So you find Alvy Singer irritating in this film? I am shocked.
At this moment, it begins. Like before, neurosis, I get it. We all have our things. But this is where it starts to become a little bit of like taking down Annie to make himself feel more intelligent or stronger or the more important person in the relationship. And I think that's always dangerous because I did that when I was younger and much more insecure and had low self-esteem. And I recognize those patterns when I'm watching it in Alvy, and it's tough to watch.
So I'm a little bit of two minds on this. The first part is that this is 100% the joke at the beginning of the movie. He doesn't want to belong to any club that would have him as a member. And exactly. He's looking everywhere with Allison, with Robin, and now with Annie. He's always looking for a way to sabotage the situation 100%. And always looking for a way to say, oh, you don't really love me. And that's what this weed thing is. Mm-hmm. You need a drug in order to have sex with me, to be intimate with me, and that shows you don't really care about me,
right?
Exactly. And of course, it's not true up to a point. But I actually do think I think both of them are perfectly. It is perfectly okay if Annie likes to get a little high before sex. That's totally okay. And if Alvy feels a little insecure that she's not being able to be fully present with him in the moment, that's also an okay thing, because we're going to see in this next moment she is not present with him. because I also think the other thing that's happening is sex isn't good for Annie. You know, I mean, we talked from the very beginning about her sexual problems. She is not interested in having sex with him, and her way of getting herself interested in having sex with him is to get high. That's not actually a healthy thing either. You know, like I think this is one where I'm a little more on both sides.
For a second, I got a little artifact, a little erotic artifact that I brought up from the city, which I think is going to be perfect. I just create a little old New Orleans essence.
And he puts in a red light bulb and thinks that he is the Mac Daddy Casanova of all time now with that red light bulb.
And this is film, right? Because like I guarantee you right now, it'd burn his fucking hands off if you put his hands
that's true.
on a light bulb that had been on for a while to switch it out. But yeah, this is little movie magic, so to speak.
Back in the day, now we have those LED bulbs and they just don't get that hot.
That's true. You're right. Yeah.
And now they start to make love.
Hey, is something wrong?
No, why?
I don't know. It's like you removed.
No, I'm fine.
And then we see again. These are these moments of like another totally creative thing, which is we see the astral projection, the ghost image of Annie Hall climb out of her body and go sit at a chair watching them in bed.
No. You seem sort of distant.
Let's just do it, all right?
Was it my imagination, or you're just going through the motions?
And the ghost version of her says,
Alvy, do you remember where I put my drawing pad? Because while you two are doing that, I think I'm going to do some drawing.
You see, that's what I call removed.
It's a perfect visual representation of what we're talking about.
Oh, you have my body.
Yeah, but that's how I want the whole thing.
Well, I need grass.
Well, it ruins it for me if you have grass because, I'm like a comedian. So if I get a laugh from a person who's high, it doesn't count, because they're always laughing.
Come on. You've had people high in your audiences all the time, and it's fantastic. Like that's not
and drunk. Yeah, exactly.
And drunk. Yeah.
I like that she separates herself and goes to the astral plane. I think it's interesting to see him interact with her because, if you've been in enough relationships, when it's ending or when you're seeing the signs that there's a possibility it could end, these are those moments, and although he's neurotic, he's not wrong in this moment, sensing that she's distant or removed.
No, this is a relationship in trouble now. Yeah. And sex is a perfect battleground for where relationships are in trouble because it's tough. Yeah. It's tough to hide when you're having sex with someone and pretend you're feeling things you're not, or not feeling things that you are.
Were you always funny?
Hey, what is this, an interview? We're supposed to be making love.
And then that "were you always funny" motivates us to cut to another flashback.
This guy is naturally funny. I think he can write for you.
And we cut to the comic who is Johnny Hamer.
Well, let me explain a little bit of how I work. You can tell right off the bat that I don't look like a funny guy when like some of the guys that come out. Right away they're going to tell you their stories. You're going to fall down. But I got to be really talented. Material's got to be sensational for me because I work, with very I'm kind of classy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this guy is great in this role, and he's got an incredible resume as a comedian, as an actor, and for some of you who may know him as his voice. Because he did quite a few episodes of Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Really?
He was Skelton in the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends in the 1980s. In Alvin and the Chipmunks, he was a voice for 36 episodes of that show. In Transformers TV series, he played Swindle, Vortex, and Highbrow. He was also a series regular on Madam's Place, if Steve is old enough to remember Madam's Place, which was Madam and Wayne Flowers. They had a whole TV series. He was in 74 episodes of that. He was in 16 episodes of the Plastic Man series from the 1970s. And because we spent a lot of time talking about MASH in shorts, he was Sergeant Zelmo Zale for 20 episodes of MASH.
Of course, that's who he is.
Going toe-to-toe with Klinger throughout the entire series. The supply sergeant. Yeah.
As soon as you said, I was like, yes, that's who that is. And he has, look, what's so weird about this scene is that even though he is like the lowest level of a D-list celebrity, like he works, but barely, he's still trying to impress Alvy.
The place looks wonderful from here, and you folks look wonderful from here. And seeing you there with a smile on your face makes me shout, this must be the place.
And he does like the Jimmy Durante, and it is all just so bad.
It's so bad. And so good because it's so bad.
Look, I'm not going to do everything this guy says. I'm not going to go through every line this guy says. It's quite a long thing.
Yes, it is.
I think they so perfectly capture a extremely like D-level pro performer of this era, like a guy who does work, but is a hack, full hack. And you watch again, Woody Allen is such a good reactor. Is the plastered on fake smile he's desperately trying to maintain as he's nodding at this guy.
Jesus, this guy's pathetic. Look at him mincing around. Boy, thinks he's real cute. Do you want to throw up?
Do you think this is a shot? Right? Because didn't he work on your show of shows, Woody, as a young writer? Is he did Caesar reach out to him? Sid Caesar reach out to him after this film and go, motherfucker, are you making fun of me? Like, do you
I don't think so at all. No, because I know from his history, his first career was as selling jokes. And so he sold, like he would sell little jokes to the New Yorker. He would sell jokes because they would print jokes in newspapers. And then he started selling jokes to local comics and guys going up to the Catskills. And so this was pre-show of shows. This was how Woody Allen made his money.
If only I had the nerve to do my own jokes. I don't know how much longer I can keep this smile frozen on my face. I'm in the wrong business. I know it.
I've totally been here. I've totally been at a job thing, talking to a boss, or like in development where someone goes, I'm looking to do a thing like this. And I'm going, oh, okay. And I remember there was one, it was like they had a deal with Lifetime and they wanted a mystery thing with a third man twist that took place in Europe with a female lead. And I was developing stuff for them for months.
Wow.
And I was in these meetings and I'm just listening going like, oh my God, these guys are terrible. And it's this weird thing where you have to kind of go, oh yeah, no, that is a really interesting idea, Phil. I think we could really go somewhere with it. Unless you wanted to do something totally different and not do that.
But these are important things in life because they do motivate you to be like, no, I shouldn't be doing this anymore. I should go finally do what I want to do. And so like these moments are blessings, can be blessings if you use them for the right things in life. So the fact that we cut to him, being a stand telling his own jokes, which he said he didn't have the guts to do just 2 seconds.
I was thrown out of NYU in my freshman year for cheating on my metaphysics final. I looked within the soul of the boy sitting next to me.
These are so well written, bro. These are so well written.
Well, and there's so many weird elements to Woody Allen's stand-up, and one of them is the surreal quality. Is that just the completely, totally bizarre way that they're, which the second joke is that way too. He's like,
and when I was thrown out, my mother, who's an emotionally high-strung woman, locked herself in the bathroom and took an overdose of mahjong tiles.
I mean, these are great jokes.
Yes.
We're backstage and Annie is there. And then we hear that we are going to go head off and meet her family for Easter dinner. This scene is amazing.
Yes.
We're sitting there in the beautiful country house in beautiful Midwest. Alvy is eating, and we have now the moment of the only minority at the table with the white people. John, have you ever experienced anything like this in your life?
I mean, I grew up in Southern Virginia, so yes, many, many times. I remember specifically I dated this girl named Lene.
Oh, Lene.
And I went to dinner with her family. And by the way, I had been allowed to spend the night with her in her bedroom. Her family was very open to Lene.
How old were you at this time?
I was 17.
Wow.
She was 16. And so that night I was asked that day I was asked to come back and have dinner with her parents because apparently they need to know the person their daughter is sleeping with. Listen.
As you should. I get that.
I guess. It's Virginia, interesting place. So I show up. It's a whole family there, a lily white family, and they're making pancakes for dinner. Now, to me, we only made pancakes for dinner when we were poor. right? When my parents were, it was like a desperate, we don't have we can't afford meat this week. Or I've been that poor, ladies and gentlemen, growing up in the early years of my life. And so pancakes is something we can have for dinner. And so when they were making pancakes for dinner, I was just like, well, I said to her, don't your parents have money? Don't you guys have money? She's like, what do you mean? Yeah, we'd like to have breakfast for dinner. And it was just this kind of, and I sat there just completely out of place. And then they asked me about my heritage as a Latino. And they asked me about how does it feel to be in a community like this where there aren't that many Spanish people? What does your mom make for breakfast? As if we were like foreign people that couldn't possibly make eggs and pancakes. So it was an interesting experience on so many levels, but it was never from a mean place. Do you know what I'm saying? It was from that place of like, they have no idea what this is like. Whereas, of course, this scene we're about to get into, Grammy, who thinks he's a real Jew, is sitting right at the end of the table. So.
I mean, it's so funny. Like, so I had one that happened to me. The first movie that I wrote, which is called Stonebrook, that Seth Green's in, and it was shot in North Carolina. And the guy who directed, who I went to film school with, Byron, the money had been raised by his family, who had some money in North Carolina, and it was largely raised by the wealthy friends in their church group. So I show up as the writer of the movie, and we had, like you have like a picnic the day before you start shooting. All the cast is there, crew is there, we're hanging out, and they say, okay, Minister Pete or whatever his name was, would you like to give a prayer? And we all held hands, and he said, "Dear God, bless this movie. Let it be a good movie to your glory." And he just did this and it was lovely. The people were lovely. Everyone was super nice. And as I'm standing there listening to this prayer, and I'm looking around at all the white people, and it's like, I'm white, I'm a white Jewish person. I had a beard, and I'm like, I am the fucking Bolshevik, communist, Jewish, I am so not one of these people at all. And they were all, and people come up with like, so tell me, now bless your heart, where'd you come from? Oh, that's so lovely. You're a writer. How'd you do that? And it was just, everyone was lovely. And I felt so out of place.
You don't know it at the time, but these are the experiences that later are going to make great stories. You just don't know it at the time. You're just hoping to survive the situation. But yeah.
Honestly, I think that is one of the essential lessons that Alvy needs to learn.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it's shitty. It's so what? It's shitty, and you'll get through the shitty thing, and then you'll laugh about it. It's a good story.
Yeah.
And we hear in words that I am sure are said this way every year come Easter time.
It's a nice ham this year, Mom.
Oh, yeah. Grammy always does such a good job.
Great sauce.
And of course, one of the people that we see sitting at this table is Christopher Walken, who is amazing in this small part.
And by the way, the mom is played by Colleen Dewhurst, who is, of course, a legendary actress. 2 Tony Awards, 4 Emmys for her work as an actress. She goes all the way to Joseph Papp, dude. That's how far Colleen Dewhurst goes in terms of a performer, both on stage and screen, as I mentioned, the Tonys and stuff, but such a great character actress in so many fantastic films, and especially in the 70s, with the Cowboys, the John Wayne film that was pretty amazing. And Ice Castles, Steve and I will probably never do that movie, but that was like a massive movie in 1978 as well. And then remember her in The Dead Zone. She is the mom of the cop who's the serial killer who tries to kill Christopher Walken, her son in the movie.
Her son.
In Hall. She shoots him in the stomach, right? And she's also in one of my favorite 80s films, The Boy Who Could Fly from 1986.
Oh, yeah. And then everyone's complimenting the ham. And so Alvy naturally joins in.
It is. It's dynamite ham.
And the dirty look from Grammy Hall. Just the like, how dare you?
I don't care what you think about my ham. How dare you think that I would care what you think about my ham? Yeah. And notice that she's sitting away from him, like 2 or 3 chairs down from him, as if she's going to catch something from the real Jew that's in the room.
Well, and there's, by the way, no commentary on the fact that they serve the Jew ham.
Right. Oh, great point. Oh my God.
Which, I mean, I don't keep kosher. I love a good Easter ham, but it is a thing.
We went over to the swap meet. Annie, Graham, and I got some nice picture frames.
We really had a good time.
And as they're having this conversation, we cut to Woody just sitting there dressed as a Hasidic Jew. It's one of the funniest cuts ever.
Oh, just amazing. Just amazing.
And that, by the way, that cut, that is how I felt holding hands with those people at that picnic. It was like that was I felt like that's how I looked.
Oh, amazing. Amazing.
And of course, Annie has apparently told her mom about the 15 years of therapy for Alvy, which she brings up at the Easter table.
Been seeing a psychiatrist for 15 years.
Yes, I'm making excellent progress. Pretty soon when I lie down on this couch, I won't have to wear the lobster bib.
A, I love that joke. Yeah. B, I think a critical moment for Alvy is if people don't laugh at his jokes, he does not know what to do.
Yeah, no, great point.
And they just stare at him.
I can't believe this family. Annie's mother is really beautiful. And they're talking swap meets and boat basins. And the old lady at the end of the table is a classic Jew hater. And they really look American, very healthy. They're like they never get sick or anything.
It's interesting to me that he names her a classic Jew hater and then immediately goes to how American and healthy they all are.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's a commentary, right, on how racism, people think, racists are going to be real noticeable with the big guts and the missing teeth and the accents, but the real scary racists are the one who look very normal and just like everybody else. And that's really scary. And I think a lot of us have become aware of it over the last few years, of how people who look completely normal, completely educated, intelligent, can say some of the most horrific things. And it really just, it culture shocks you, And so I think he's making a little bit of a commentary here about all of this.
Nothing like my family. The two are like oil and water.
And then again, another moment of just messing with the way that films work is that the image half wipes so that now we have it's like a 25-75 split screen with Annie's family in the 25, and 75 is now filled up with the Alvy Singer's family.
Yeah.
And they're like crowded in together, and the color scheme is very different. Everyone's very close. It feels very, very tense over in Alvy's family.
Let him drop dead. Who needs his business?
His wife has diabetes.
Diabetes? Is that an excuse, diabetes?
And I don't even know what they're saying. It doesn't matter. They're just going off on stuff, on gossip and neighbors and whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
And then this is what he does over and over again. This is like Marshall McLuhan, which we've had sort of one level of breaking the reality with Alvy in the Hasidic Jew outfit. And then we go into 2 levels of breaking reality with Alvy talking to camera. Then 3 levels of breaking reality with him creating this split screen and all of Alvy's family talking to camera. And now we're going to take it to a 4th level. This is the adding I have Marshall McLuhan right here, which is that Annie's mom turns to ask a question of Alvy's mom.
How do you plan to spend the holidays, Mrs. Singer?
We fast.
Fast?
No food. To atone for our sins.
What sins? I don't understand.
Tell you the truth, neither do we.
It's a classic Jewish jokes right there.
But I think this is such an interesting scene as well, because Alvy comes from a family that is talkative and open and, arguably aggressive in how they express their feelings about things. Yet he's one of the most repressed people ever. Annie comes from a family that's very repressed, yet she is just as open about talking about anything as she can be. So it's a fascinating thing that they're products of their environments, but they're almost anti their environments with how they end up as people in life. And it's interesting to see the dichotomy of that when you watch the scene.
It's later. Alvy is walking down a hall, and we hear
Alvy,
and he looks in to Dwayne's room, and there's Dwayne.
Hi, Dwayne. How's it going?
This is my room.
Oh yeah, it's terrific.
And he's sitting in the shadows. He, by the way, we had to Christopher Walken at this era. He's kind of a big stud,
Yeah,
he's a dancer. He's the very healthy looking strong, strapping young man.
Yes, 100%.
Can I confess something? I tell you this because as an artist, I think you'll understand. Sometimes when I'm driving on the road at night, I see two headlights coming toward me. Fast, I have this sudden impulse to turn the wheel quickly, head on into the oncoming car.
Again, the reaction shots from Woody Allen are just like amazing reaction shots.
Yeah.
I can anticipate the explosion, the sound of shattering glass, the flames rising out of the flowing gasoline.
I'm assuming you've been in this moment where you're suddenly in a weird room with a person who's saying some things that you were not prepared for.
Sometimes at some of our parties with our friends, with their friends who show up.
Yes. In fact,
yeah.
2 dude nights ago, there was certainly some things going on where it was going like, what's happening here? I don't understand what's happening here.
What's happening?
What's going on? I don't know what the rules are. And Alvy takes this in and then says,
I have to go now, Dwayne, because I'm due back on the planet Earth.
Yeah, this is, and as you mentioned, this is walk-in right before the explosion. And I imagine this scene inspired people to cast him and stuff. Because, I mean, Deer Hunter's next year.
Yeah.
Then Heaven's Gate. Then he becomes like, Christopher Walken in the 80s. But yeah, this is such a great scene. Even the way it's framed, Steve, with that one light on the edge of the bed and he's sitting near the corner of the bed. Who does that? And he's opening himself up to Alvy in this way. Like, again, this is a repressed family. And he probably goes on to be a serial killer or something. Yeah, right. And that's so there's commentary going on here if you want to take the commentary, not I think. Because they're ignoring their issues, that they're not talking about their feelings. And this is what you have 2 completely different people that come out of this family. One in terms of Walken, who's very disturbed, and one in terms of Annie, who's much more open to the world and experiencing the world. So it's fascinating.
I think it's a great point. And because Annie is the person who does deal with her feelings.
Yes.
She does deal with all this stuff.
Yep.
I also think Alvy's, look, I understand you wanted to get out of the room. I would want to get out of the room too, but he was not very sensitive to this poor guy who's clearly going through some heavy stuff.
The half grin, the half smile, the half grin that Walken has perfected when he's playing these kinds of unstable roles is just genius. It's so unsettling.
And then it's all just perfectly set up as we're getting ready to leave. And I guess Dad was supposed to drive them, but he goes, no, Dwayne could drive them. And of course we cut to Alvy and then we're in the car with Dwayne driving and the camera. It's just so perfect because the camera starts on Dwayne and the driver's seat and slowly moves right to left until it ends up on Alvy. The whole thing is set up as a perfect joke. And we hear the engine revving. Like the whole thing is just perfect.
I've been in a car twice with someone like Dwayne. it's a very unsettling experience.
And then after a lovely drive with Dwayne, when this was so interesting because the movie's nonlinear, but it's not nonlinear in a way that you can be 100% sure of where you are when you are. But this is clearly farther along in the relationship and not a good place. And then from here, we're going to bounce around in time before coming back to here. So again, it really doesn't care about clear rules of how we're handling time,
Yeah.
You followed me. I can't believe it.
I didn't follow you.
You followed me.
Why? Because I was walking along a block behind you staring at you? That's not following.
Well, what is your definition of following?
Following is different. I was spying.
I think this, and again, when I was watching this movie, I was focusing on her costume changes. And you look at her here, this is she's embracing her femininity more in terms of like, she's open. She's like, these are sleeveless dresses she got on. She's got this sash or whatever tied around herself. There's a freedom to her movement. There's a strength that is coming from her energy through her dress and through her performance here and through her pushing back on him, and calling him out for following her. Like this, a year ago, I think she's like, why'd you follow me? I don't understand why you would follow me. Now this is a pushback. Now this is calling him out. Now this is putting him, on notice about the things that he's doing.
The following spine distinction, I think is a good thing to be on notice. It's like neither of those seem like a good thing.
Do you realize how paranoid you are?
Paranoid? I'm looking at you. You got your arms around another guy.
That is the worst kind of paranoid.
So I just want to be clear. So what we find out is this was her professor, David.
Yes.
When he saw her with her arms around him, was she hugging him or was she kissing him?
I would say hugging, not kissing, but hugging in a way that probably unsettled him because maybe it was a little more intimate or longer than he was expecting. But I also don't buy that he was going there to surprise her after school. I think he was going there to absolutely spy on her instead of surprising her.
I think it's important because in my mind, it was always a hug. It was you gave your professor a hug. That happens. And but then her next line is, well, you wanted to keep the relationship flexible. Remember, it's your phrase. The keeping the relationship flexible line implies that maybe it is more sexual than, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I wanted to ask.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then for me, I don't see it that way. How I see it is that her saying to him, like, what if I was kissing him? Guess what? You said you wanted to be free. So what the fuck is your problems? And this is what I mean about this scene is like, I think this is her in a way that she hasn't done yet because we jump and forth in time, as Steve has pointed out so well. This is her embracing her power as a woman here. This is not the Annie who started the relationship. This is an Annie who's much more, she's been going to these classes. Her brain is developing. She's finding her voice. And I think this is her pushing back on him and calling him out for his hypocrisy. Because, of course, Alvy wants things a certain way all the time, however he wants them. And if they are cross purposes, it doesn't matter. It's up to you to figure out what he really means. And I like that she's calling him out and calling out his logic, and putting him on notice.
You're having an affair with your college professor, that jerk that teaches that incredible crap course, Contemporary Crisis in Western Man.
Existential motifs in Russian literature. You're really close.
So first of all, I just love the trajectory of you should go do some adult education. It's really great. You meet great professors to this line. And then he says,
what's the difference? It's all mental masturbation.
Oh, well, now we're finally getting to a subject you know something about.
Which, by the way, that is the first time in the movie that I can think of where she really nails him.
Yep.
Hey, don't knock masturbation. It's sex with someone I love.
This is another great joke. But the problem with this joke, I think, is that Alvy doesn't love himself.
Right, of course.
Is that so him masturbating is actually it's actually sex with someone who hates you.
We're not having an affair. He's married. He just happens to think I'm neat.
Neat. What are you, 12 years old? That's one of your Chippewa Falls expressions.
Who cares? Who cares?
She's exasperated here, Steve. Yeah.
Yep. Well, and he has been trying to get rid of that Chippewa's Falls part of her since literally the moment they met. And now she's going, it doesn't matter. Like, that's part of me. Like you can't take that away from me.
Right. And as I said, like Annie a year ago in this relationship would have had, he's calling her out on this stuff. Now she's like, what the fuck? Leave it alone. Why do you care so much about this stuff? Because he's trying to use, he's trying to undercut her and he's trying to embarrass her and shame her and ridicule her in his passive aggressive way with those shots. And now she's pushing back where maybe that stuff had worked before to quiet her down or to kind of keep her under his spell. She's pushing back on all of this stuff. And I love it. And she's essentially saying, why do you have to harp on this? Why don't you accept me for who I am? Who cares if I use these phrases,
Well, and the situation, whatever it is with the professor, is because Alvy continually wanted to keep the relationship not too serious.
Alvy, you're the one who never wanted to make a real commitment. You don't think I'm smart enough. We had that argument just last month, but don't you remember that day?
And then we go from we're in a nonlinear movie, and now we flash back within that scene to another scene back at the house at the Cape. By the way, again, we're all in one shot, and this time they use a different technique, which is it starts as a 50-50, which means it's two people looking at each other. We're looking at both of their profiles. And then what happens in the scene is that one of them will walk out of the frame and leaving the other one alone, or they'll come into the frame. So they keep changing the shot depending on what's going on in the scene. And it works, of course, really, really well.
I'm home.
Oh, yeah? How'd it go?
Oh, it was really weird, but she's a very nice woman. And I didn't have to lie down on the couch, Alvy. She had me sitting up.
So we get immediately like, oh, she just had her first therapy.
Yeah.
So I told her about the family and about my feelings towards men and about my relationship with my brother. And then she mentioned penis envy. Do you know about that?
Me, I'm one of the few males who suffers from that. So.
You know what's funny about doing this particular movie with you?
Yeah.
So this is a total behind the scenes thing, but most of the time when there's a funny line in the movie, you will generally hear John laughing and not necessarily hear me laughing that much because the reality is we're not watching the movie. I just said the line. Feels weird. So, normally if I have read a joke on a piece of paper, I don't burst into laughter. I find these jokes so funny that every time I say one, I can't stop laughing.
Yeah, they're so well done because of the way he delivers them as well in the movie. You have that memory of it too. Yeah.
Well, she said that I was very guilty about my impulses towards marriage and children. Mm-hmm. And then I remembered when I was a kid how I accidentally saw my parents making love.
And this happened in the first hour? That's amazing. I've been gone for 15 years. I don't have anything like that.
Oh, amazing. But again, you see, and that's the thing. The irony of this whole thing is that Alvy is the one who says, in essence, that she's not smart enough for him, but she's actually smarter than him in a lot of ways, in emotional ways, right? And in emotional maturity. And I think these moments where she's able to talk about her stuff immediately in the first hour, she doesn't have the hangups. Whereas Alvy would, like, you've got to earn his trust before he can say anything. And, people sometimes enlist their therapists in their life goals, in their lifestyle, I guess. And so, yes, there are some people who go for a long time because they have a lot of stuff to unpack and unravel, but there are people who go for, a little period of time just to deal with an issue and get a lot out of it and then walk away from it. It's different types of approach to therapy for people. And I think Alvy's the kind of person who, like, his therapist is like going to the gym. Like for him, it's like, or writing a play. It's like, it's something he has to do. And now he's enlisted his therapist or his therapist, male or female, to be the person who basically, how can I say this, excuses his life and tries to find the positive things within all the madness,
Frankly, I think Alvy's therapist has upgraded his Manhattan apartment 3 times on the money he's making off this guy.
Yes.
Because, and this is, I'm glad that you said this because this is such an important point. I don't think Alvy goes to the therapist to get better.
No.
I think he pays a guy to listen to him bitch.
That's what I'm getting at. And I think that, and I hope I'm going to say this, but I might piss off some people, but so be it. Because for me, whenever I've gone to therapy, it's been to tackle a specific thing. And I have tackled it. I've been, it hasn't always been easy, but I have tackled it and then come out the other side, right? I think I'm about to go into another period where I need to go and find a therapist again to deal with something else that's happening. So I like that therapy can be there for me to be like, okay, I need to go through this. I need to open myself up. I need to explore this stuff. I need to be honest and raw about it and then come out of it. But I think there are some people who go, as you said, Steve, to just basically enlist them to support their life and to listen to them bitch. And they don't really have the desire to get better. It's more like, it's almost like a paid friend that listens to you, but you don't have to hang out with them all the time. And so I think there are some people who treat therapy in that way. And then, of course, there are other people who certainly are in for a long time because they've got a lot to unpack,
I mean, I think there are a lot of people that walk around believing that they're right. I mean, I'm one of those people a lot of the time, and not being able to be convinced that they might not be right.
Oh, yeah.
They go like, I'm right. And therefore, any negative shit that comes towards me is everybody else's fault. And then you find a therapist to agree with you. Yeah, that was really terrible. Those people are really awful. You know what? It is anti-Semitism. Everywhere you looked, you're correct. And then you feel good. You paid your whatever, maybe in 1977, it was, $50 a session. You paid your $50 and I felt pretty good. But you didn't get anywhere because you didn't try to solve any problems. Because the other thing about it is it's being open to the experience and being willing to share the reality, the fear, all that stuff. And then, but it's also B, going, okay, and now what do I do to make this better?
Right.
If there isn't
responsibility.
If there isn't a step 2, and now I'm going to work on this, and now I'm going to try this. Now I'm going to cut this person out of my life, or now I'm going to, whatever it is, you don't do that. well, then, it's back to his line. Yeah, it's sex with someone you love. It is just masturbation. You are going in there and you're saying your stuff. And Annie, on the other hand, believed what Alvy told her about the importance of therapy and what it was for. And so when she went in to do the work.
Yeah.
I mean, she also is an open person who is much more in touch with her feelings, so she didn't have so far to go.
Oh, I told her my dream, and then I cried.
You cried? I have never once cried. That's fantastic to me. I whine.
And then she describes her dream, which involves Frank Sinatra trying to smother her with a pillow. And Alvy tries to diagnose the meaning of the dream.
Of course.
Sure, because he's a singer and you're a singer, so it's perfect. So you're trying to suffocate yourself. It makes perfect sense. It's a perfect analytic kind of insight.
And she turns to him with such a j'accuse moment.
She said your name was Alvy Singer.
and this is one of those moments. She walks away, leaving him alone in the shot now to deal with that information.
What did the doctor say?
Well, she said that I should probably come 5 times a week.
Which to me is like, oh, so the doctor also wants to upgrade her Manhattan apartment for this. Yeah. And then we get a beautiful Freudian slip.
And you know something? I don't think I mind analysis at all. The only question is will it change my wife?
Will it change your wife?
Will it change my life?
And then Alvy turns the camera and says,
She said, will it change my wife? You heard that because you were there, so I'm not crazy.
If only we could really do this in relationship discussions or arguments, right?
I have done it. I'm sure you have too. I'm sure, like, when nobody is looking, you did a little take. It's like, you saw this, right? Like, this is not, it's not just me.
No, we've discussed just setting up recording equipment in the living room so that when there's a discussion of who said what and when, we can rewind it and listen to it, because there have been a couple of moments where, or more than a couple, where it's been like, no, you said this. I know you said this. I remember you saying this. And the other person is like, no, I never said it. And so it's like, it's an interesting thing. But yeah, you'd love to have a referee in relationships sometimes.
Oh my God, yes. Well, that would fit in perfectly in the style of Annie Hall to just call it a ref. Let's go to the instant replay. They didn't have that in 77, but we could use the instant replay.
And Alvy, and then I told her about how I didn't think you'd ever really take me seriously because you don't think that I'm smart enough.
Why do you always bring that up? Because I encourage you to take adult education courses? I think it's a wonderful thing. You meet wonderful, interesting professors.
Cut to back to the scene we left before.
Adult education is such junk. The professors are so phony. How can you do it?
I mean, this is, again, it's like the apartment has bad plumbing and bugs. That it's a structural joke. Like, we've created the setup much earlier, and now we've come back to it to drive home the point that none of these things Alvy is saying they're all about Alvy. That's
100%.
That's all the things he's saying is about him.
Yeah, and he'll change whatever his point of view is on something so that he's right all the time, or think he's right all the time. And in this situation, the same thing. And I love that she's at the taxi with the door open. She's leaving him, right? Again, this is empowerment. This whole scene is Annie empowering herself to create distance between her and Alvy.
I don't care what you say about David. He's a perfectly fine teacher. And what are you doing following me around for anyway?
Following you and David.
Call this relationship quit.
That's fine. That's great.
Closes the door and the relationship is over,
I guess.
And then he just keeps talking to us and breaks the reality in another way.
Well, I don't know what I did wrong. I mean, I can't believe this. Somewhere she cooled off to me.
And then he turns to this woman who's walking with groceries.
Is it something that I did?
Never something you do. That's how people are. Love fades.
Love fades. God, that's a depressing thought.
I think this scene is amazing.
Yeah. This is just like the scene with the families. Like, these people he runs into these people and they're going to give him their unvarnished opinions about this stuff and where they're at on everything. And he's just kind of processing it all. And the advice they give him is hilarious. I love fades. It's not your fault. Almost like a therapist. It's not your fault. And then he walks up on the old dude as well and what he's got to say, which is crazy.
I'll tell you what I think is remarkable about this sequence. And this is going to sound crazy, but there is do you ever have this moment? I'm just going to say a very strange thought that I have all the time when I'm sitting in traffic. Sitting in traffic alone in my car, and I look over at the guy in the car next to me or the woman in the car on the other side, and I go, wow, those are humans with full lives having their own thoughts in the car next to me. And it just is always like the vastness of humanity and all human experience. I know it's silly for me to say I have this thought when I'm sitting in a car in traffic, but I do. And the thing is this moment is like shattering the separations between strangers that can't talk to each other. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't it be like, there's this woman with this groceries who has life experience and all these, it would be great to get her opinion. And if she could kind of opine on this a little bit,
Right.
And then he walks up to this old man.
I have to ask you a question. Don't go any further. With your wife in bed, does she need some kind of artificial stimulation like marijuana?
And he says, in a complete, serious, straightforward way,
We use a large vibrating egg.
Large vibrating egg. Well, I ask a psychopath, I get that kind of an answer.
I have a very different reaction to this today because I think this is not a psychopath. This to me seems like a man and his wife who have figured out what to do to make their sex life work, and this sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that he's missing about asking all this advice is that the advice is that you need to accept people for who they are and find the person who you vibe with. There's no judgment, and they found each other and using the vibrating egg, not a problem. It's so not a problem that you can just openly talk about it. And that's the thing that Alvy is missing here. And even the woman says to him, love fades, because sometimes love does fade. But I don't agree with her that it's nothing you do, but sometimes love just fades. Yeah.
Well, and that's just this woman, that's her opinion. You know what I mean?
Her experience. Yeah.
Then we walk up to this younger, attractive couple and he says,
You look like a very happy couple. Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you account for it?
I'm very shallow and empty, and I have no ideas and nothing interesting to say.
And I'm exactly the same way.
I see. Well, that's very interesting. So you've managed to work out something, huh?
Right.
Yeah, I think this is a bit of judgment from a nebbish little guy who's angry at these good-looking people and it has to make them seem as if they're stupid. But I get it. It's a fun joke, and I didn't quite laugh at this one. It felt a bit like, how can I say? It's a bit out of date, a bit of an outdated joke, in my opinion. But this is Cheryl Ladd, by the way, a very young Cheryl Ladd, one of her first appearances as an actress. Of course, she went on to be in Charlie's Angels and a number of other films and TV shows, but this is her first kind of on-camera thing. So it's very beautiful.
Absolutely. And I think it does very much come off the way that you're describing. I think there's another element to it, but I don't know that it is just the is ignorance bliss,
Yeah.
Because we're contrasting. So it is definitely, I think it comes off a lot more. Here are the attractive people and here is Woody Allen.
Right,
jealous and making fun of the attractive people. But it's also, here is the ridiculous intellectual who is deeply unhappy.
Yes.
Talking to the people who go, we don't think about all the stuff that you think. We're not going to the sorrow and the pity. We're happy,
What business is that of yours?
What business is that of yours?
Everything he does comes back to that moment. Everything. What business is that of yours? Why do you have to overthink it all?
I never saw it that way, but you're 100% right. What business is that of yours?
Everything. If you just lived your life and stopped worrying about everything, you'd be much happier. What business is that of yours?
I think this next moment doesn't deliver on. I feel like there was going to be more comedy. He walks out to the middle of the street, straight up to the mounted police, talking directly to the horse, and I'm going, is the horse going to say something? Like, what's going to happen here? But really nothing happens with the horse.
Even as a kid, I always went for the wrong women. I think that's my problem. When my mother took me to see Snow White, everyone fell in love with Snow White. I immediately fell for the Wicked Queen.
Cut to the animated version of Woody, a tiny little Alvy sitting with Diane Keaton as the Wicked Queen.
We never have any fun anymore.
How can you say that?
Why not? You're always leaning on me to improve myself.
This is a seductively animated Wicked Queen, by the way. I mean, she's got her nipples can be seen through her sheer blouse. Her hips are very drawn in a way that makes her look very womanly in terms of physical attraction there. So it's a very interesting distinction to put up there. But I like that the back and forth between them is that way, and she's towering over him as well, which I think is hilarious.
And the conversation they have is exactly the kind of conversation they would have in New York, but despite being animated characters.
You're just upset. You must be getting your period.
I don't get period. I'm a cartoon character. Can't I be upset once in a while?
And then in walks animated Tony Roberts, who says, I got a girl for you. You're going to love her. She's a reporter for Rolling Stone. Great segue. And then we are in, once again, another oneer. Like half of this movie is just the whole scene is in one shot, and it is with Shelley Duvall.
Yeah, the great Shelley Duvall, huh? I mean, sadly passed away recently, but such a great actress. Of course, Steve, we've talked about her on The Shining and all the things that she went through there. Such a distinct and unique actress, right? And so, but yeah, just so good in this little role here, playing off of Alvy and the things that he's talking about, And she's an intellectual, but she's intellectual in a completely different way than he's used to from.
Well, the big thing about her is that she is an enthusiast.
I think there are more people here to see the Maharishi than there were to see the Dylan concert. I covered the Dylan concert, which gave me chills.
If Alvy hates everything,
right,
because the universe is expanding, and Annie is sort of in the middle, trying to learn, appreciating Alvy's, darkness and negativity, and but also being a more positive person. Shelley Duvall's character, everything is transplendent. Like she's super, and I don't know, you've obviously done a lot more dating than I have done, but I have been with people that did monologues. That just talked and talked and talked and talked.
Oh, yes. Yes. I've been in numerous dates where they just go on, and especially if they're on coke, or which was one of my most insane experiences, or if they've been drinking a lot. All of a sudden, it's like a 10-minute monologue about something, and you're just like, she's still hot, but goddamn, how much farther is she going to the point where I maybe need to get out of here because I don't feel safe.
Up to that, I guess the most charismatic event I covered was Mick's birthday when the Stones played Madison Square Garden.
That's great. This is great.
The other thing about her is that she is celebrity matters. It's and it's not just that celebrity matters. It's that it makes her feel great about herself.
Yeah, to
be around these events, all these things that are happening.
Yeah.
And as this is where I do relate to Alvy is. Like I'm not an enthusiast, like people who are just like, oh my, it's like you guys go into Hall H. I've gone a couple times and it's fun, but I wouldn't wait in that line. Like it just isn't that thrilling. I could hear you guys talk about it later and that'll be fine, like and so when people get really super enthusiastic about things, I get a little bit kind of like Alvy, a little bit grumpy and sarcastic.
You catch Dylan?
Me, no, I couldn't make it. My raccoon had hepatitis.
Her response is, you have a raccoon? The people that don't get Alvy's jokes, like her family, like some other people, like the lobster lady we're going to see in a little while, like it's always funny when they just die.
Yeah.
And then we cut to them. Obviously, Alvy stuck it out because we end up with them in bed.
I hope you don't mind that I took so long to finish.
No, don't be silly. I'm starting to get some feeling back in my jaw now.
That's very specific.
Yes, it is. And very real.
I think this is a daring joke in 1977.
Yeah.
We weren't talking about orgasms at that time. And I also I saw this movie when I was 8 on a cruise ship and loved it. I don't think I understood what these jokes were about. I don't know what she means by this, but she says,
sex with you is really a Kafkaesque experience.
I mean, I don't think that's a compliment.
No, it's not. I think of the trial. I think of what it's be like to have sex in the trial in that movie, in that story.
And then his phone rings, and the moment he realizes it's Annie on the phone, his entire demeanor changes.
Oh, hi. No. What's the matter? What's you sound terrible?
Because he doesn't love Shelley Duvall. He's in bed with.
Not at all.
It's Annie he cares about. She opens up the door and she looks pretty shook.
Are you all right? What?
There's a spider in the bathroom.
What?
There's a big black spider in the bathroom.
And I go back to her apartment is filled with bugs and plumbing.
Right.
Bad plumbing.
Right.
Did they ever get rid of the apartment, or did he continue to pay for it as a tax deduction.
I think he kept continuing. And look, she still has a picture of him up on her wall.
Yeah.
So I think they kept that apartment, and she wasn't ready to move on from him yet either. I mean, sometimes when you break up, you're not really ready to break up because you were just in that moment and you say those things and you give them space, but they want to come back, or you want to come back. And so here it seems like it's pretty clear that she's using this as an excuse to bring him over to her apartment because she's missing him, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Did you go to a rock concert?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, really? Was it heavy? Did it achieve total heaviosity, or was it?
It was just great.
I got a wonderful idea. Why don't you get the guy that took you to the rock concert? We'll call him, and he can come over and kill the spider.
And then she sees the National Review, and it's going like, who is she turning into?
Well, I like to try to get all points of view.
Well, wonderful. Then why don't you get William F. Buckley to kill the spider?
Alvy, you're a little hostile. You know that?
I've had this experience once or twice where you break up with
Killing
somebody.
spider?
No, killing a spider for sure, which I am told is a very bad thing to do, but I do it anyway. But the idea of someone calling you up after you break up and then for something really minor, you come over and it's an excuse just to get back together again, So, but it's a hell of a mind fuck because you don't think that when you're going over there, and then when it happens, you're like, what the hell is going on here? So. I love that he's got the old school Dunlop racket as well. I remember those. I had one of those.
Sure.
Yeah. Steel rackets. Jesus.
And again, we're in a oneer. So he walks out of frame and disappears, and then he comes immediately back in. It's a very big spider. Yeah, it's a lot of trouble. Just 2 of them.
2?
Yep. I didn't think it was that big, but it's a major spider. You got a broom or something with a snow
it's
shovel?
at your
maybe,
house. I think I left it there. I'm sorry.
And then he goes back into the bathroom to do battle with the spider. He comes back in, and she's on the bed in the corner. And by the way, the walls are blank. The books are piled up. It is not a nice environment or a lived-in environment that she's in right now.
What's the matter? What are you sad about? What you want me to do? Capture him and rehabilitate him?
Oh, don't go, okay, please.
What do you mean don't go? What's the matter? What are you expecting, termites? What's the matter?
I don't know. I miss you.
Again, you're right. It's When Harry Met Sally.
Yep.
Because this is when they first sleep together.
Yes.
Yes. And they kiss. And then she asks,
Was there somebody in your room when I called you?
What do you mean?
I mean, was there another? I thought I heard a voice.
No, I had the radio on.
Yeah?
I'm sorry, there was a television set.
that was not a good lie, dude. You said she woke you up at 3 a.m, so already you were in trouble. And then you change your lie. You can't change a lie mid-lie. This is like basics. Don't change a lie mid-lie.
Yeah, but I like this scene for her reaction. This is, when you make great films that explore the human experience, it's the little moments that make the film subconsciously, or maybe consciously if you catch it, feel real. When she bangs her fist on the bed, almost mad at herself for missing him, and mad at herself that she's still because she's been embracing this new femininity, this power, her own voice. She's going to this therapist. She's crying in front of the therapist. She's really embracing this power, but she still misses him. And she almost feels guilty that she feels this for him, in my opinion, when she bangs the bed. She's like, I still miss you, and bangs the bed. It's almost of a frustration that she can't get over him, right? And he is there to comfort her or whatever. And that's, emotions are complex. The heart is complex. And so sometimes what your mind is telling you is not what your heart wants. And so you have that battle. And it seems like, I think she went back and forth about calling him about the spider for 2 hours, and then finally did it. Probably hated herself after she did it. Because when Alvy walks in, if you look, she puts her head down like she's a 5-year-old child and is looking at the ground when he's talking to her about the spider and everything like that. And she's almost like she's ashamed. But then eventually, because I think that's the thing is going on throughout this whole scene, is that she's ashamed that she still needs him, even though she's becoming this kind of independent woman,
I don't think I ever fully got the scene. I think you're totally right. I knew obviously there was reluctance, and I understood that, but I didn't put the sort of therapeutic, she had made the decision that Alvy was bad for her.
Yes.
And now she is going back on that decision.
Right.
I think you're totally right.
There's a frustration. We've all been there. There's a frustration. You're like, no, I know this person is bad for me. Steve, in that 5 years. I know this person is bad for me, but I still have feelings for this person. I don't know how to let this stuff go. It's a really tough place to be in.
And then we have a beautifully shot scene of them in bed where they're feeling really good about the relationship, and they come up with the idea of driving to the old neighborhood, going back to Brooklyn with Rob, Tony Roberts, which is what we cut to. We're driving. We hear all sorts of, fun stories about back in the old days in the neighborhood. And then we get to the house under the roller coaster. We hear,
I had some very good memories there.
What kind of good memories, Max? Your mother and father fighting all the time.
Yeah, and always over the most ridiculous things.
Cut to the parents fighting. It's kind of almost a Citizen Kane shot because you have the parents in the foreground, you have young Alvy in the midground, and then adult Max or adult Rob, Alvy, and Annie are going to walk in the background in a wide angle lens, So it very much has that sort of Citizen Kane thing.
You fired the cleaning woman?
She was stealing.
But she's colored.
So?
So the colored have enough trouble.
She was going through my pocketbook.
They're persecuted enough.
Who's persecuting? She stole.
What's your reaction to an argument like this?
Well, I think this is a nice window into this. How can I say this? This is almost like a liberal mentality that the father has. Like, you know what? Yes, she was stealing from us, but look, they're less fortunate than we are, so let her steal. At least she cleans the house, right? This is kind of like ultra-liberal approach to things, and she's more practical. Like, what are you talking about? She's stealing from us. We should have fired her, right? And he's saying, they have less than we do. We would probably steal if we could. And so I think there's a kind of an honesty in this that I think is fascinating to watch because, of course, it's a film from 1977. So when you watch it with 2025 eyes, it can feel like this is a bit of a racist, possibly racist back and forth. But I actually don't see it that way. I think it's more just a matter-of-fact conversation that happens in a living room. You're not going to be curating your words in a living room. You're going to have honest conversations. And so to me, I think this reflects the guy has a progressive point of view, so a pretty extreme progressive point of view about things.
So to me, I don't see really any words that needed to be censored. You know what I mean? Like I
agree.
To me, this scene is really Jewish. Like this is really like I said, this isn't my family didn't talk this way because we didn't come from, we weren't from Brooklyn at this era. But this is actually a conversation about this is a moral, ethical conversation. Yeah. What is the right? Is the right to punish this person or to have compassion for this person who's probably in a much worse situation than we are? Yeah. That is a classically Jewish argument,
Yeah. And then you throw in, though, like logically, just pay her more. Then she wouldn't steal if you pay her more. But there's almost a sense of like, well, I don't mind that she's stealing from us because we do deserve to get stolen from because we make more money than her and she needs it. So it's just a weird kind of construction of a social construction of a situation when the logical way out is just pay her more and she won't steal. But this is, kind of, he almost sees it as a sacrifice or a payment for their success. Like, can I say this without offending people? Like almost Jewish guilt, like this feeling. This is
exactly what this is.
Okay. I just want to clarify that. I don't want to speak out of turn on that. But yeah, it feels like that.
Well, we talked about guilt in the last episode where we talked about the sorrow and the pity and why should they feel guilty? And I was saying, no, this is what I feel is like, what is my responsibility to help people that are less fortunate than me? Right. Have I worked enough? So the term in the Jewish religion is a mitzvah, is to do a good deed. And it is extremely important. That is a key cornerstone of Jewish identity is hopefully to do good in the world. And there's tremendous anti-Semitism out there and many people who would go like, that's not true. And that is not me saying that Jews always behave that way or all Jews have those values. Those are the values I was raised with, so like, but the other thing about it, your point about paying her more is actually why that if you did that, this scene wouldn't be funny. Because what's the big thing about this scene is they're completely ridiculous. It's a ridiculous argument. You're insane because, of course, you should just go, oh, well, let's just pay her a little more. Like we like her. If she's in real trouble, let's help her out. Not have this let her steal. That's insane. Exactly. Which is, of course, what Alvy says.
You're both crazy.
I can't hear you, Max.
Again, it's the same technique as when Martin Landau goes to see his family in Crimes and Misdemeanors and walks into the Passover dinner scene, is this idea of going back and witnessing your own past.
Yeah.
And then we cut to them at a party, and we I'm not going to go through all the stuff that happens. There's an obnoxious guy named Joey Nichols who just wants to make jokes about Nichols, and the kid version of Alvy walks away from him and says, "What an asshole." Which is, Alvy was the same as a little kid. He's always been like this.
Yeah.
Always judgmental.
We just talked about, we just did a short on Rob Reiner. We're recording this right after we did the short. And one of the things that I read was that, what's his face loved him from the beginning. Because was it Norman Lear or was it Mel Brooks? Like Mel Brooks or Norman Lear said that even as a 7-year-old, Rob Reiner sounded like it was an old Jewish man and how he viewed the world. And so it's like, and he knew he was going to be successful because he already had that mentality. And you're right. This is what you see here. And this is Alvy as a child, who we see as an adult is exactly who he was as a child, Yeah.
And then there's a fun scene with Aunt Tessie, and I won't go into the details, but what's interesting about how it's constructed is you have Tessie Moskowitz, and how she was the life of the party, and you have the adult Alvy and Annie and Rob in the background asking questions, but in the foreground talking to Tessie is a kid that we're shooting over the shoulder. And the implication is that the words are actually coming out of the kid's mouth to Tessie from the adult people who are from the future. You know what I mean? It's a really interesting construction.
And I like it as a thing because we always can't believe that older people were once young and went through all the things that we went through. You know what I'm saying? And I think this is fascinating, which her like moving around saying she was a great beauty. I do think Tony Roberts' cracks are a little, like trying to make fun of her personality or her looks rather. But then again, if you want to see Tony Roberts when he got older, it wasn't that much better looking anymore after that as well. So what goes around comes around. But I kind of love that this and her name, bro. Man, I'm telling you, I love Jewish people. Tessie Moskowitz, that's a fucking great name. I love that name, dude.
Do you want to hear my favorite ancestor's name? Moses Lichtenstein.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, I shouldn't make a digression, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about Moses because it's one of the best stories. So he was born in a covered wagon traveling west.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
He made 3 fortunes. So first was a silver mine in Nevada. And then he lost all his money on the stock market or something. Ooh. And then I think it was jewelry. And then he was mentioned, not him specifically, but his partner was mentioned in my politics, poli-sci international politics freshman class at Cal. Ooh. Because my ancestor, Moses Lichtenstein, with his fortune from the jewelry business, funded a dude who wanted to go take over Colombia, I think. I don't think it was Bolivia. I don't think they went there, but he funded a private army. They went down to Bolivia. They were soundly defeated, put in jail. He escaped and made it back to the U.S. on the back of a burro and opened up a dry cleaning business in San Francisco.
As you do. As you do after a failed coup.
Yeah. And they said this is the first example of American imperialism.
Holy shit.
No, they didn't mention Moses. So how involved he was, I'm not entirely, but I know he went with the guy. That's all I read. He gave him money, he went with the guy.
That's amazing.
Anyway, but we digress. But of course, I think this along with the lobster scene are like the 2 peaks of his relationship with Annie. Like things are good in these moments. Yeah. And it's her birthday. And he gives her first present, which is sexy lingerie.
Why don't you try it on?
Yeah, I don't. This is more like a present for you. Yeah,
10 years to our sex life.
Yeah. Forget it.
And then he gives her the real present, which is a watch that she loves, and she puts it on. And they kiss, and they're happy, and we're doing really well.
Yeah.
Cut to her singing. Singing Seems Like Old Times. She's much more confident. Her performances it hits at a very specific level that really, really works. I love that when we cut to the wide shot, she's sitting on the stage, which I find very interesting and confident.
I'll tell you what, Steve, rewatching this, I've kind of never given Diane Keaton her just due in my mind. And I think because Kay was the first thing I ever saw her in, I thought I hated that character so much throughout the Godfather movies when I was a kid. And although you're supposed to not hate her, right? But when you're a kid, you get caught up in the fantasy of Michael Corleone. But like watching her throughout this movie, the moments, the acting that she's doing here, the subtle movements, the subtle looks and glances, the body shape in certain moments, like all of that, it's just some really fantastic acting. Even the little moments when she's getting the present, she sticks her tongue out before she gets the watch. Like there's that joy, there's that honesty in her performance the real human honesty that I think is such a gift to her as an actress. And you bring up this moment here on the stage, just watch her eyes as she looks left to right. She is commanding the stage. She is commanding the audience. And if you juxtapose this with that first scene when she was singing and how she was going to quit, the audience wasn't even paying attention to her. She has the audience in the palm of her hands now because she has grown as a woman.
Yeah.
She has become more confident. She knows who she is. She has found her voice. And so she's powerful on the stage.
And there walking up out of the crowd is Paul Simon. I like Paul Simon acting. I mean, it's I like him on Saturday Night Live. It's a very flawed movie, but I kind of like One Trick Pony. It's sort of an interesting film. I'm not saying Paul Simon is a great actor, but
I wouldn't say that.
Him.
What Paul does, he does well, but he doesn't do much else than what he does well. Yeah, I think that's what you could look at for him as an actor. Yeah, for sure.
We just wanted to stop by and say that we really enjoyed your set.
Yeah, really?
I thought it was very musical. I liked it a lot.
Oh, that's really nice. Gosh, thanks a lot.
Are you recording? Are you with any label now?
Me? No.
Now this is to a singer. I mean, this is like an actor, like someone coming, this is getting discovered. This is a big producer has come up. This is a huge deal for Annie and her career. And since Alvy loves her, he's obviously going to be super supportive in this moment, isn't he?
No, he isn't. Because he's always afraid to lose her because he knows, I think, at subconscious level that he's not enough for her. He's not good enough for her in the end because he's not emotionally mature enough to handle this relationship. He can handle it now in this stage in this controlled environment, but if the second Tony Lacey shows up, he feels threatened by him and all the old issues pop up again in their relationship.
I think all of that's true, but I would add to it that there's a power dynamic here, which is he is only happy in control with Annie weak.
Yes,
and
100%.
And so anything that might give her power or give her edge or give her status, he has to keep away from her because then he can't control her anymore.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, great point, Steve.
I agree. Like Paul Simon is not Daniel Day-Lewis. He's not an amazing actor, but the way he delivers this line, this next one, is such a very specific LA 70s celebrity sort of thing.
We're going back to the pier. We're staying at the pier, and we're going to meet Jack and Angelica and have a drink there. And if you'd like to come, we'd love to have you. And we can just sit and talk. Nothing. Not a big deal. It's just relax. Just be very mellow.
Yeah.
By the way, do you want to go back to the pier to hang out with Jack and Angelica?
Angelica, yes. Not Jack so much, but yes. Sorry, Jack and Angelica, yes, but not Tony Lacey so much.
I tell you, this is such a thing where it's like, if someone offers me this party, I say yes. I'm not. Okay. I'm a hermit in all sorts of ways, but it's like at this moment, buy the ticket, take the ride.
You're an enthusiast at this moment.
No, I'm not enthusiastic about it. It's actually more. It's more like I can't not have this experience. I don't necessarily think I'm going to like it.
Oh, I see. You have to experience this. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to know. I mean, I have the opportunity to go do this thing.
Remember we had that thing?
What thing?
Don't you remember we discussed that thing that we were... Yes, we had it.
Oh, the thing.
Just to be real clear, John, is there a thing?
There's no thing.
Yeah. Does she know there's no thing?
Yes, but she also is with him here and she knows his neurosis and they're in a good place. So she plays along with it, but she's not happy about it.
Does Tony Lacey know there is no thing?
Probably, but what does he care?
I think so.
He's the power person. So if she comes, she comes. If she doesn't, some other singer will come tomorrow.
Yeah, but I think, yes, totally. But I also think there's that look to Alvy of, I understand what's happening,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if it's inconvenient and if you can't do it now, that's fine too. We'll do it another time. Maybe if you're on the coast, we'll get together and we'll meet there.
The difference between come to the party now and maybe sometime in the future, if you're ever 3,000 miles in LA, for an artist, for a singer, that is a huge difference.
Yep.
What's the matter? What, you wanted to go to that party?
It's like, dude, of course you wanted to go to that party. What's wrong with you?
All right. So you don't want to go to the party, so what do you want to do?
Cut to the Nazi documentary.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's terrible.
He keeps showing her Nazi documentaries. Like, what is this? Is this his way of controlling her? Do you think this is a super fucked up, passive aggressive way of controlling her, making her feel guilty about the plight of Jewish people? I don't know. I wonder.
I don't know if it's. My short answer is this a fucked up, passive aggressive way to control her? 100% yes. Is it specifically to make her feel guilty about Jewish people? I don't know. Maybe that's in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, and it's also just the world of singing in a club, an important music producer walking up to you and offering you your dream is a magical, wonderful world. And Alvy doesn't want her living in that world. He wants her living in the world where Nazis could come at any moment.
Yeah, that's a good point. Stay sheltered, because anything could any danger could happen. But I also think the mistake he makes here, and this is something that any of you people in relationships, young people in relationships need to understand. If you want to have a healthy relationship, your partner has to have autonomy for their life. And in this moment, the fact that he comes up with a fake thing to get out of that party, to get her out of that party, he removes her agency. And I think the smarter move would have been to let her decide if she wanted to go or not go to that party. And then he could decide if he wanted to go with her or not. But because he decides for her, I think that pisses her off. That irritates her in a way.
We cut to, again, another brilliant filmic idea, which is
great.
It's the dual therapy scene. Yeah. And it's basically the two of them having their therapy sessions simultaneously. And Woody's whole conception of this, we'll obviously do this as a split screen, which means you shoot one side of it with a blank empty half, and you shoot the other side of it, and then you optically put them together. And Gordon Willis said, no. Do it practically. Build a set and put the divider in the set. So this is just one set.
Wow.
This is all done. And the thing about it is that the timing is so tight as they're coming in and out of each other's lines. There would be no way to do that if you shot them on different days. Right. Because there's no way to get that rhythm that tight. And it's so funny that we've been talking about When Harry Met Sally, and we started talking about When Harry Met Sally before the tragic death of Rob Reiner. And now we're talking about redoing When Harry Met Sally. But the scene where they have the 4-way phone call after they first slept together, they shot practically. They put them all in the same room on phones. So they actually and they're on different sets with different cameras, but they shot it all at the same time for the same reason. That's the only way to get the tight timing.
That day in Brooklyn was the last day I remember really having a good time.
We never have any laughs anymore is the problem.
I've been moody and dissatisfied.
So what we're having is these parallel conversations that link up together in the writing. Right. It's brilliant writing.
How often do you sleep together?
Do you have sex often?
Hardly ever, maybe 3 times a week.
Constantly. I'd say 3 times a week.
That sums up so much about relationships. That is, it's perfect. And again, I'm sorry for the digressions, but have I ever told you about the toilet seat psychological issue?
No.
I think this is very valuable about how humans deal with each other. Okay. So obviously, leaving the toilet seat up, classic male-female, argument that people would live together. And so you're in a therapy appointment, and the wife says, I am so angry. He always leaves the toilet seat up. And the husband goes, I never leave. What are you talking about? I never leave the toilet seat up. She says, yes, you do. And they have this argument. This sounds like a pretty typical relationship argument. And the thing about it is, they believe that they are right and the other person is obviously wrong. But in fact, they are both right, because here's what happens. The husband knows his wife doesn't want him to leave the toilet seat up.
Right.
Every time he thinks about the toilet seat, he puts it down. If he's on his phone or distracted or looking at something else and doesn't think about the toilet seat, he forgets it.
Yeah.
But the times that he doesn't think about the toilet seat, he makes no notation in his brain.
Right.
He has no memory of leaving it up. Why does he have no memory of leaving it up? Because he didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Every time she walks into the bathroom and sees the toilet seat up, she notices it. Every time she walks in the bathroom and sees the toilet seat down, she notices nothing. She never remembers. So he never remembers leaving it up, and she never remembers seeing it when it was down when he put it down.
Right.
So both of them are operating from what they believe is reality, except that their own brain is messing with their perceptions of that reality.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yes.
Anyway,
correct.
I just thought that was important at this because it was so, when I heard this thing, I was like, oh,
yeah,
that makes sense. That makes so many arguments make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talk about the sex thing. And I think this is so critical.
Like the other night, Alvy wanted to have
She would not
sex.
sleep with me the other night, you know? It's just
And I don't know. I mean, 6 months ago, I would have done it. I would have done it just
incredible.
to please her.
I tried everything, you know? I put on soft music and my red light bulb. And
So he is trying to convince her in the way that might convince him.
Yes.
And she is trying to please him because she knows that that's what he wants.
Right.
This
Right.
is super, super unhealthy.
Yes, of course. Because they're not communicating. And
exactly.
I think she's trying to communicate, but he doesn't want to listen and only thinks that he's right in their interactions in their relationship.
I don't know, though. I mean, I feel so guilty because Alvy is paying for it. So, you know, so I do feel guilty if I don't go to bed with him. But if I do go to bed with him, it's like I'm going against my own
she's making
feelings.
progress, and I'm not making
I don't
any
know.
progress.
I can't win.
Then her progress
Sometimes
is
I
killing
think
my progress.
Sometimes I think I should just live with a woman.
She's talking about her progress.
Yeah.
She is wrestling with the issue.
Yes.
He is not wrestling with anything. And now we cut to them sitting on the couch with some friends, one of the most famous scenes, and we're talking about snorting coke.
You never want to try anything new, Alvy.
How can you say that? Whose idea was it? I said that you and that girl from your acting class should sleep together in a threesome.
Sick!
Yeah, I know it's sick, but it's new. You know, you didn't say it couldn't be sick.
I don't know, I'm kind of team Alvy here.
Okay. I am not. I have enough time pleasing one woman.
And then, well, you've never taken to a Kafka-esque place.
Yeah, it's true.
That's the
Thank
secret.
God.
That's the
Thank
secret. You got to turn into a giant cockroach. That's the way to get this thing going.
That's William S. Burroughs next. Yeah.
So
Listen, while you're in California, could you possibly score some coke for me?
asking Alvy to score coke for you is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, so weird. This guy, of all people.
He asked for the value of the coke, and we hear it's about $2,000 an ounce. And then he picks it up, and he's looking at it, and he looks at it a little closer, and then he puts a little bit right near his nose and sneezes and blows all of the cocaine all over everybody's face.
This is a great joke, and I love the joke, a physical bit. Very, very Marx Brothers-ish, this joke. But I also think, in a way, this scene shows you that Annie is also a little bit like not accepting of Alvy. That's why I think they're mismatched, because neither one accepts the other one for who they are. He is a neurotic, judgmental guy who wants to be in control of everything. And if she was okay with that and could figure it out and navigate it, she'd be happy in this relationship. But she's always pushing, like the whole scene is her trying to push him to do coke. And she even tries to rationalize it by going like, oh, well, you want to write, right? You want to write. And so she's trying all these things. But Alvy, she knows Alvy's not a person who likes to try new things. But she's also trying to push her agenda on him in a way. And I think this is where this relationship now has gone into like subtly toxic state, because she's trying to push him to do stuff. He's trying to push her to do different stuff. And they're not vibing with each other at all.
One thing about, so this is the biggest laugh in the movie.
Of course.
It was something they discovered in rehearsal.
Oh.
And one of the things that happened when they did it was they went, oh yeah, that was pretty funny. And they put it in the movie, and then they go, because you have test screenings. And it's really important, by the way, comedies in particular do need test screenings.
Yeah.
Because you got to kind of find the rhythm of it and what's really playing and what's really not. The laugh for this was so big that they had to re-edit the scene to add extra space, because the laugh from the cocaine thing was covering up the what was happening in the next scene.
Right.
So they had to spread it out. And if you watch this movie, there are a lot of kind of pausing moments after big jokes.
Yeah.
And that to me, and it's so funny because it's the difference between seeing it in a theater with an audience and watching it at home is you don't necessarily you don't need the big pause for the big laugh as much when you're watching it at home, particularly if you're watching by yourself. But to me, this was always kind of the rhythm of Annie Hall. It had those little rests after the big jokes, and I always liked it.
Yep.
We are in California in the classic driving with the POV shot, low angle, looking up at palm trees. And I went, wait, is this the first version of this shot? Because this shot's like in Beverly Hills Cop. This is the You Have Come to Beautiful Hollywood. And this is one of the earliest versions of it that I could find.
Oh, wow.
And we're with Rob, who's just waxing poetic about the great life he's having in Hollywood. Apparently, he's next to the Playboy Mansion. It bothers me that he says he lets me use the jacuzzi. And I'm like, you should have said grotto. I mean, if you're talking about the Playboy Mansion, you should talk about the grotto.
God, it's so clean out here.
It's because they don't throw their garbage away. They make it into television shows.
Oh, come on, Max. Give us a break, will you? It's Christmas.
I think that we're going to find out Rob is on a TV show. My guess is it was a pretty terrible TV show from everything we're seeing. But Alvy's such a jerk.
Yeah, through the whole time. Of course, and he's so uncomfortable. And he's carrying his bags on top of his lap. Like there's protection. There's physical protection, right? Meanwhile, Annie's in the back like a free spirit, winging around left and right to take pictures of everything. You know,
because she's having a ball.
Right, because she's enjoying it. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny, when we were in New York, every movie marquee, every book we saw, everything that was mentioned was always highbrow, super intellectual.
Oh, yeah.
When we're driving through LA, we see Tale of the Pup, famous hot dog and burger place in West Hollywood, Fat Burger, the House of Exorcism and Messiah of Evil are what's playing at the movie theater. Like everything in LA is crap, and that is definitely on purpose. We're in the control room for Rob's sitcom, and he is laying down some laugh track, and Alvy is not pleased.
Ironically, this is very meta, isn't this? You just said how they added extra beats in the movie in order to let people laugh, and here he is complaining that homie adds a laugh track to the fucking show.
Well, I would say those are opposite things to me, because
I think they're the same, because there's an arrogance in thinking you're going to get a loud laugh or a long laugh by including those extra beats. Well, but as you said, there were test screenings, you know. So,
but that's confidence that your jokes are playing so well you need extra time. And the other one is insecurity that your jokes are so terrible that no one's going to laugh unless you tell them to. That's what a laugh track is. Which, by the way, I've used a laugh track. They're fun. They're very fun little tools to play with, because you can like dial this up and like, let's get that weird laugh guy. Let's get like a mellow murmur. You know, how about if people whisper? It's really, it's very fun.
Oh, and Steve, by the way, if you notice on the TV show, the two actors who are in the TV show, that is a young Beverly D'Angelo, who was the actress on the TV show. And that is Tracy Walter, who is playing opposite her. And if you remember Tracy Walter from Batman, 1989's Batman, you are my number one guy. He is Bob the Goon in Batman. And of course, in a number of movies, including City Slickers, where he played Cookie as well. So those two actors, getting like one of their first kind of looks being in that TV show.
This movie might have more of those early star appearances than anything I can think of.
Yeah, a lot of them for sure.
And then in the midst of talking about the laugh track, Alvy gets suddenly woozy and feels sick and has to sit down. And then we cut to him back at the hotel room with a doctor who's obviously made a house call, and he's complaining of his nausea. And John, I have a philosophical question.
Sure.
So obviously this is bullshit. That is what the scene is going to be about.
Course. Yeah.
Does he feel nausea? Has he convinced himself? So because there's the difference between I've convinced myself I feel sick, or I'm totally putting on a performance that is 100% fake.
Right.
And you think it's a performance?
I think it's absolutely a performance. And I think this is his what do they call it? Self-destructive impulses coming out.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do this thing. He thinks he's selling out by doing it. Because remember, he's been bitching about LA since the beginning when Tony Roberts' character was bringing it up. And so this is his way of, psychosomatic is what they call it, or whatever it is. And he's made himself sick. He's made himself believe he's woozy. And later, when he's eating that full plate of chicken, that's the giveaway that he's kind of just convinced himself that this is happening to himself so he doesn't have to be on the show. That's really what it is.
I think Alvy has been faking being sick so long,
Oh,
literally
yeah.
since he was 5 years old, that I think there is some Stanislavski sense memory. I think he does feel nauseous. I think he does actually make himself feel physically ill.
Make himself, yes. I'll agree with you on
it's
that.
fake.
Yeah.
And he's like, can't eat anything. And then Annie gets a phone call and says,
Alvy, that was the show. They said everything is fine. They found a replacement, so they're going to tape without you.
Oh, Jesus, now I don't get to do the TV show?
and as those words, they're like hanging in the air. He's already reaching for a piece of chicken.
A plate.
And he starts eating. And the doctor is still trying to figure out what's wrong with him. And he's eating.
I'm a salt.
Yes, excuse me. Yeah, perhaps it would be even better if we took him to the hospital for a day or two.
Hospital?
Well, otherwise, there's no real way to tell what's
Not
going
bad,
on.
actually.
What's crazy to me about Alvy, I mean, Alvy's crazy, is that he is not just an intellectual New Yorker poo-pooing lowbrow Los Angeles. He is also poo-pooing highbrow New York. Because when he was at the party with his ex, all he could do was make fun of those people. There is actually he makes fun in every direction. And it's the first joke. He won't be a part of any group that would have him as a member. If TV wants him, I have to reject them. The intellectuals want me, I got to reject them. Women fall in love with me, I must destroy that love. That's what he's got to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of self-hatred coursing throughout this movie in the character of Alvy Singer, because every single opportunity he has to succeed at the things that we're seeing him do, he sabotages himself every single time. And there are people like that. And certainly there are people who criticize everything around them when in fact it's them that they're really critical of, and that's the thing that you see. And, sometimes I've been guilty of this when I'm being super critical about something. I go, wait a minute, is this about me? Am I feeling some sense of inadequacy here? I need to explore that, which is what therapy has taught me at times. And so those are those things you look at. So I get it. But when you're making fun of everything, because it's, this person, I used to have a friend who made fun of everything, whether it was lowbrow, highbrow, made fun of it all, but never was willing to put their balls out there to actually be the thing that they said they wanted to be. They would rather criticize everybody who's doing it and all the projects that come from that, because that way they don't feel terrible about not putting themselves out there to try to be a part of those projects,
There's a theory that Steve Jones and I came up with years ago that I might have told you this one, not the A to Z theory. This is the cult of negativity. And the way that Steve, we started talking about is he would go into work after there'd been like a big comic book movie opening. He worked in animation, and he would walk in and everybody was bitching about what was wrong with that movie. And if he came in and kind of liked the movie, he felt bad. And like maybe he wouldn't be cool if he said the thing that he liked. And this is the thing that we discovered, is that frequently the fastest way to connect with another human is by bitching about something.
Oh, yeah.
Is politics, traffic, weather, whatever it is, in my family, whatever it is. That is a shortcut to connection. And it's certainly true in social media. Like you want attention, you want to get something, be negative. What Steve and I realize is that the deep, lasting relationships of our lives, we connected on things we loved.
Mm-hmm.
And so like our friendship is not, I mean, you and I can bitch about stuff, but this podcast is a connection based on something that you and I mutual love.
Yeah.
And Alvy is living his life in the cult of negativity.
Yes.
And so therefore he cannot form deep, lasting connections because you can't just live your life trying to connect there,
Yeah. 100%. Which is the journey he has to go on, right?
Yeah.
He has to accept that by the end of the movie. Yeah.
And now we're going to head, John, to a Hollywood party. And I think this scene is so influential on how the world perceived Hollywood at this era. Like, I think this established, and this is how I saw Hollywood in this weird way,
I'll take a meeting with you if you'll take a meeting with Freddie.
I took a meeting with Freddie. Freddie took a meeting with Charlie. You take a meeting with him.
All the good meetings you've taken.
That is perfect Woody Allen Hollywood nonsense, you
Yes.
know?
Yes. It's funny because the film itself is Alvy attacking and judging everyone, yet Woody Allen is attacking and judging people. So there's like kind of a meta thing going on here, interestingly enough, as we see Woody's voice as a director versus Alvy's voice in the film,
This is the thing I meant when I said at the beginning that in some levels, I think this was like Fight Club to me, because it's so funny. He does such a great job making fun of the ridiculousness of Hollywood that I bought in more to Alvy, I think, than I should have. And then as I grew older, I was like, no, this person he might be making good observations about some ridiculous things.
Yeah.
But but the most ridiculous thing in this movie is Alvy Singer.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Because I mean, you can make just as much fun of the New York intelligentsia getting together and having their pretentious conversations and existential, philosophical, blah, 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 blah type of shit. So it goes both ways. But this is a New York filmmaker, so he's going to ridicule LA, of course.
I think I have experienced versions of this next line in dealing particularly with executives in Hollywood more times than I could possibly tell you.
Right now, it's only a notion, but I think I can get money to make it into a concept and then later turn it into an idea.
To me, it so sums up so much of what I see, because to me, it's all about putting in the work and making something. It's not just like there are all these people floating around thinking that something's going to miracle their way into being something good or something real.
Yeah, the Hollywood game is not for the weak. It is a tough game because there's a lot of unknowing. There's a lot of living in the unknown, I guess I should say, because these are the kind of people that decide this stuff, and concept notions, as you said, Steve, story by, those kinds of things are such, how can I don't know what the word is, but like they're amoeba-like. They're constantly changing. You have no idea what it all means. And the fact that it even gets made is a miracle within itself. And the fact that it's good is a miracle within itself as well. So, yeah.
Well, that's the thing to me is you'll meet someone who goes like, I have an idea for a dog that is captured by aliens and becomes a hero. Wouldn't that be great? And then they find a great writer and a great director and and they make a great movie. And that person goes, you see what I made? And it's like, no, you didn't make. You just had a concept that you got some money to turn into an idea that other people made, you know? And then we're with Rob and Alvy as they come into the room. And that's the moment that Alvy discovers that this, in fact, is a party at Tony Lacey's house.
Yeah.
The guy that expressed some interest in Annie as a singer, and Alvy feels like he expressed some interest in her.
Yeah.
And then this woman, Tony Lacey's girlfriend, comes up, and Rob is so put out that he has Alvy talk for a moment.
You're Alvy Singer, right? Think we made it est?
Est? No, I was never too est.
Yeah, so for those of you who are a little younger, or maybe in another country, maybe, you might not know what est or EST is. And that was like the precursor to something I took back in the 2000s called the Forum. And it's basically getting you to look at how to live outside yourself, how to not take things personally, and then how to create a different existence where you're not seeking to win or lose, you're just seeking to be heard. And then it becomes like a multi-layered system. You're constantly paying for new classes and you have to achieve this certain level. So for those of you who know how, I don't want to say it's a cult, but certainly it's a kind of, how can I say, it's a mentality cult where it's this idea that if you have to keep advancing in order to achieve pure enlightenment, and you have to convince other people to join it so that the organization can keep making money. So it was kind of those things that have always been going around about how to like view the world in a different way and hopefully lead to success. But you can see through a lot of the stuff, and it's like, what do you call it? It's like crackpot psychology, so to speak.
This was, particularly as a person who grew up, I didn't just grow up in California. I grew up in Marin County, California. Marin County is one of the hippie centers of the world. So it's right across the bay from Berkeley, and it's where people who had a little bit more money in the 70s had hot tubs and encounter groups and all this stuff. And there were plenty of people on Est. And this is, again, just like I think Woody is establishing this thing about Hollywood in this scene, I think he is criticizing and pointing out some of the ridiculousness of how he sees California,
Yeah.
And then while they're talking to Tony Lacey's girlfriend, Tony is having a scene with Annie, and we come in right in the middle, and it is very clear they're discussing the album that he wants to record with her.
We just need about 6 weeks. In about 6 weeks, we could cut the whole album.
I don't know. This is strange.
You can come and stay here.
No.
So there's a whole wing in this house.
Oh, yeah, stay here.
Do you think, by the way, that Tony Lacey is into Annie, or is he just into her music, or both?
I think it's all mixed in, and what his intentions are ambiguous and vague, so that whatever happens, but he's not responsible for it happening. And we know plenty of people or we've met plenty of people in LA who are like that, where it's like, oh yeah, they seem all of a sudden you're in bed with them, and then they're like, yeah, well, it's they wanted it, so it's that kind of thing. I think that's his whole personality, is that he is just open for everything. So he's into her music, and then if it slides into them being into each other, so be it. It's where it was naturally supposed to go, babe.
So that's kind of what I think. I think it's somewhere in there. But one thing I think is really important, I do not at any moment think that he doesn't value her as a musician and only wants to get in her pants. I think that him wanting to record her as a singer has to be 100% real. And then where the rest of it is, I mean, this is LA in the 70s, man. I mean, anything could happen. And now it's Alvy and Annie talking about this whole thing. And she really likes this. There's all these great things because she is open to the positives and doesn't just focus on everything negatively.
It's wonderful. I mean, they just eat and they watch movies all day.
Yeah, and gradually you get old and die. It's important to make a little effort once in a while.
And as they're saying this, they walk by a person on a phone who says,
yeah, I forgot my mantra.
Who is this actor?
It's the great Jeff Goldblum. One of his first on-camera roles, seeing him there. And he delivers it so well. I mean, listen, the great ones, even one line will show you how great they were going to be when you spot them for the first time. And certainly you can tell with that. But that line is great. I forgot my mantra.
We're flying home. And now, before, when they, on their very first time that they met, we heard their voices and read subtitles. And now we're seeing them and we're hearing their thoughts.
That was fun. I don't think California is bad at all. It's a drag coming home.
A lot of beautiful women. It was fun to flirt.
Right there, I think this is already really interesting.
Yes.
They are right at the edge of the breakup. But they are not at the edge of the breakup for the same reasons. They're not at the same place. They are thinking about different things.
She's moving on. She's growing up. Yeah.
I have to face facts. I adore Alvy, but our relationship doesn't seem to work anymore.
I'll have the usual trouble with Annie in bed tonight.
His thoughts go from, I had fun flirting with other women. I'm not going to get sex to be able to have sex with my woman tonight. And her thoughts are, I was in California. He'd been telling me forever that California is terrible, but I was just there and it wasn't terrible. I don't think this is going to work.
If only I had the nerve to break up, but it would really hurt him.
If only I didn't feel guilty asking Annie to move out. It'd probably wreck her.
What's so great, actually, in this scene is they are actually 100% end up in the exact same spot for different reasons and are both thinking about not hurting the other one.
They capture this moment so well in the movie. If you've ever been in this moment, where you sense that something is wrong, that there's a breakup on the horizon, right? It's always an interesting moment. I'm a very empathetic person, so I always knew the breakups were going to happen before they happened. And so, sometimes I would know weeks before, but you just play out the motions until it happens. But I think it's such an interesting thing that they find to do it on a plane. I don't even know if I would ever do it on a plane, but clearly she's hit her breaking point and he's clearly done with it as well, because they're going in two different directions. But yeah, I like the way this plays out with the thoughts, because how many of us have been there with those thoughts in relationships and you're not sure, should you not? And this is her second time, right? This is the second breakup, right, Steve? So the first one, she asked him back after he killed a spider. Now she's a little more sure about ending the situation, ending the relationship.
Well, and the first one was in an angry, upset moment.
Yes, right.
This is a reasoned, thought through. They're both very, very calm.
Let's face it, so I don't think our relationship is working.
I know. A relationship, I think, is like a shark. It has to constantly move forward or it dies. And I think what we got on our hands is a dead shark.
And I wrote down, God, he's funny.
Mr. Shark documentary person, is that correct? this shark needs moving forward.
It is mostly correct. I believe nurse sharks can stop swimming.
Okay.
But mostly, it's the force of moving forward that forces water through their gills. So it allows them. It's connected to their breathing. That's my memory of it. By the way, in a weird way, minus the brilliant joke, which I absolutely didn't have, this was pretty much how my marriage with Karen ended. which is the leading up. We did a lot of couples therapy. We did a lot of working on our issues. And we got to a certain point, and there was just this moment where we both agreed, and we looked at each other. And I think I said, I think we have to face the fact that our marriage has run its course, which is, I think, the way I phrased it. And Karen, with very little pause, went, yeah, I agree. And that was it. You know, like it was a very calm, it was hard to get to that point, but at the end, it was kind of just, you know what it was.
Right. And you did all the possible avenues that you could, and then you both realized the same thing at the same time, which I think is great.
And now we're dividing up the books. This is the next step of dividing up the relationship. By the way, I find it very odd that they're dressed very similarly in this scene. That they're both in like the knit tartan pattern. They both have vests. They both have collared button-down shirts. Like the color scheme is very, very similar. I just find that interesting. I don't know why it is.
Well, I think I've been focusing on her clothes throughout our two parts of the conversation on this movie, because I think the clothes reflect, and I don't always notice the clothes, Steve. I rarely talk about the outfits or the things that people are wearing, because costume designers, they're just so smart about this stuff, and I'm not always great at catching it. But like in this movie, it's pretty obvious. As she gets more intelligent, as she becomes more independent, as she finds her voice more, she dresses differently. She dresses more confidently, more kind of not power suits, but certainly some power colors, some power designs in her choosing of her wardrobe. But here in this moment, I think this is meant to symbolize that like she's been changed by him. And it's not sexist to say that. It happens. Men change women, women change men. But her experiences with him have changed her. And she's become this person through this relationship. Not because of the relationship, not because of him, but because in terms of like the male did it, I mean like the relationship changed her. And so she and him, this is a way of reflecting how much time they spent together and how they affected each other. So they're always going to take like large parts of the other person with them as they move forward in life. And we're going to see that later with Alvy when he talks about the eggs and all that. But this is, I think, Annie's is a clothing decision to make Annie kind of reflect that, what she's wearing.
It could also, I just suddenly went, or I wonder if Alvy's dressing more like her now,
Maybe to try and, maybe because he's been changed by her as well. I should have said that as well. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
What they're mostly doing as they're dividing things up and we, review some of the books and other stuff that they have is basically going, we're doing this in a really healthy way. We're doing this great, Right. And we go from how they're going to remain friends and how this is all going to work out to cut to Alvy's walking out of a movie theater, immediately walks up to a stranger and says,
I miss Annie. I made a terrible mistake.
And now, when before the strangers were giving him advice and telling them about themselves, now these strangers have telepathic information about who Annie is and where she is.
She's living in Los Angeles with Tony Lacey.
Oh, yeah? Well, if she is, then the hell with her. If she likes that lifestyle, let her live there. He's a jerk.
And by the way, I don't think anything we've seen Tony Lacey do lives up to jerk.
She's just jealous of him. He's just jealous of him.
Yeah, which is what the next person says. And then someone else says,
why don't you go out with other women?
Well, I tried, but it's very depressing.
And we cut to back at the house at the Cape with lobsters on the ground with another woman. And I can remember seeing this as a kid and understanding, oh my God, he's tried to recreate the special magical moment that could only happen once that happened with Annie. He's now trying to recreate it with a stranger. And she is looking at him so bewildered.
Yeah, yeah.
Quick, go get a broom.
What are you making such a big deal about? They're only lobsters. If you're a grown man, you know how to pick up a lobster.
And then he makes a joke.
I'm not myself since I stopped smoking.
Oh, when did you quit smoking?
16 years ago.
Yeah.
And there is a complete dead silence. And it's the same when he made the joke about therapy with Annie's family and no one responds.
What do you mean?
Mean?
You stopped smoking 16 years ago. Is that what you said? I don't understand. Are you joking or what?
And I should say, this is huge for me. I totally relate to this so much. I mean, obviously, I haven't put a lot of effort into or any effort into dating since I've been single. But if I were to date, and if you presented me with the most beautiful, intelligent, kind, moral, compassionate woman in the world, and she did not laugh at my jokes. That's a deal breaker. I can't. You have to laugh
100%.
at my jokes.
Sense of
you
humor.
don't have to laugh at all my jokes.
Right. I don't. And neither does Steve laugh at all my jokes. So but we laugh at enough of each other's jokes to enjoy our friendship. And it's the same thing in relationships, right? And I tell you, I've had some good relationships with people who understood my humor, but you got to go all the way with it. And I've never met anyone who goes toe to toe with me with my humor and turns it back on me and lets me be me like my lady does. And, I'm very blessed in that because I have a bit of at times a caustic wit and at times a bit of a harder edge. Yeah, exactly. Harder edge to my humor. And so I've offended girlfriends in the past. But I've never rarely have I ever, offended Lindley because she's got such very strong self-confidence in herself and who she is as a person. So she'll just come back at me in such a great way that I just go, you win, And so I'm very fortunate that I found like that. So you're absolutely right, Steve. Sense of humor is so important in a relationship, man. And so if anybody's listening to us and you're in a relationship where the person isn't laughing at your jokes, it doesn't get your sense of humor, stop trying to force it and get out of it. That's my advice, my personal feeling.
Well, and I think as critical as it is for me, it is lifeblood for Alvy. I mean, he literally, bookends the film by jokes that are the most important things in his life.
Yeah.
Like this is.
Let me ask you something. Do you start to feel sympathy for him, even though he's been a bit of a prick and he's the design of his own depression here? Do you feel sympathy for him? Like, does he do an effective job as an actor, making you care about Alvy's journey over these next 10, 15 minutes as he's experiencing life without Annie? Because he's clearly hurting and he's clearly trying to recreate stuff, clearly trying to figure out what to do with himself now that she's gone, because he knows it was the right decision. He's just having a hard time with it because a guy who's been in therapy for 15 years, I think, would have a hard time accepting a decision as opposed to Annie, who's much more open with her feelings.
I am so glad you've asked this question because I think you've struck at the heart of the film, and I don't think we've articulated it. Here's my opinion about it.
Yeah,
I think if we felt zero sympathy for Alvy, this movie fails completely. I think you have to feel you're irritated with him and frustrated with him and see him as a hypocrite and just you can't believe some of the things he's doing. And I think it's what you and I talked about at the very beginning, which is I have some Alvy in me. Like, I get it, and it's that feeling of, oh my God, what are you doing? But I get it. I understand. I get why you're doing this and I feel it. And so, yes, I think I have sympathy almost through the entire movie, even when he's doing absolutely terrible things.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, this is so delusional what he's doing now.
Listen, I want you to come back here. Well, then I'm going to come out there and get you.
When you're in pain and you miss someone, logic rarely comes into play with the decisions that you make. He doesn't break into her house or do anything like that, but he does, in a way, force her to meet him by showing up, by flying cross country, using a little bit of emotional blackmail or guilt in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But, this is what happens sometimes in breakups. You think you know better. You think if you just do this or if you just do that, and you think you've changed, but you're so lost in the pain and the sadness you feel in moving away from someone that you make mistakes like this. And I think this applies regardless of gender. I mean, people make mistakes like this all the time. Yeah, thinking they can recapture the magic again, and you can't.
I've been there in this position.
Yeah.
I've been Alvy. I've seen other people's do it. It's just totally human. What's so crazy about what he's doing is he is going from our relationship is over to you have to move back in with we have to get married. He's going from 0 to 1,000 and thinks that technique's going to work. So he flies to LA. He's calling her from a phone booth. She's shocked that he's now in Los Angeles because she didn't know he was going to do that.
Listen, can we not debate this on the telephone? Because I feel that I got a temperature and I'm getting my chronic Los Angeles nausea already. I don't feel so good.
I call this weaponizing weakness, which is In order to get you to do what I want, I'm going to express my pain, my nausea, my weakness, that I can't handle it. And therefore, you have to do what I say because otherwise you're going to be hurting me. And it's a technique I see people do all the time, and I hate it.
Yeah, emotional blackmail. Absolutely. Yeah.
The choice of car that he's driving is perfect. Big boat of a convertible, you know?
But that's Alvy. I have to be safe. So I'm going to get this big car. I have to feel safe. Yeah.
Well, and it's the mismatch with the very small man in the very big car and the terrible driving.
Yes.
So he shows up again. I think this established a certain cliche about California because he goes to the cafe and orders.
I'm gonna have the alfalfa sprouts and a plate of mashed yeast.
I think the world thought this is what California was for a decade, you know? And she shows up. They have a little bit of small talk, and then cutting off any small talk.
So I've been thinking about it, and I think that we should get married.
Oh, Alvy, come on.
Why, you want to live out here, or what you think? It's like living in Munchkin land.
So his proposal is essentially, let's get married. You're doing stupid things. That's how he's handling this.
Right. Again, I think it's important to look at the differences with them in their clothes. She shows up in this flowing white robe, almost angelic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she looks very happy, like open and happy. She's progressing. She's moved on, right? She's evolving to her next phase. But Alvy is still very much wearing the tweed jacket in the heat of LA, you know, closed off, buttoned off still. And he's desperately pitches marrying her because he's seeking security. And he thinks, if I can get her to marry me, then I've got security in my life. But in fact, he would be upset about being married to her because he'd do the same thing he did with moving in, right? He'd be like, well, whose idea was it? It'd be all of that all over again. So I'm glad that she sees through it. And I'm actually glad this is in the movie because it's very realistic.
I think Alvy is smart enough and self-aware enough to know that he's drowning. Mm-hmm. And I think he knows that Annie is a lifeline.
Yeah.
But his solution is to pull her down underwater with him.
Yep.
And so it's like, you know, the joke at the beginning of, you know, the food is terrible in such small portions. It's not just that he feels that way. He needs Annie to feel that way.
Yes.
He needs her to be miserable with him. It's the horrible and the miserable. You know, it's like you need to accept that you're one of the miserable with me to make me feel okay.
Plus, he hasn't evolved. This has always been his problem, is that he's never accepted Annie for who she is. Now, has that helped Annie because he's pushed her to read stuff and be more intelligent about the world? Possibly. Yes. But she might have found her way to that anyway. Alvy just happened to be the guy at the time that was inspiring her to read all this stuff. And, you know, he now in this moment when he could really be like, wow, you look amazing. You look so happy. Because that's what loving somebody is wanting the best for them, whether it's with you or without you. And it's a very hard thing. Look, I spent decades not understanding that concept. And it is true. You have to love someone is to let them find their happiness and their joy. And she looks happy. But instead of seeing that, he instead, as you said, Steve, wants to drag her back because that's their pattern for their entire relationship, is him dragging her back as she's trying to fly. And I think this is sad to see, but it's also, you know, as I said, realistic.
Well, and as a teacher of hers, he was teaching her the lesson that California is bad. And these are all the reasons why. And it took her going to California on the last trip and then thinking about it on the flight home that she went, oh, he was wrong. Not only was he wrong, he was manipulating me. And so now when he makes this Munchkin Land comment, she goes,
what do you mean? I mean, it's perfectly fine out here. I mean, Tony's very nice. And, well, I meet people and I go to parties and we play tennis. I mean, that's a very big step for me, you know? I mean, I'm able to enjoy people more.
She's sharing her truth.
Yep,
I've evolved. Exactly. I'm happy, you know?
And I don't have to worry about you anymore, is what I think is also like one of the undercurrents of the lines that she's saying. Yeah.
And he can't hear that. He can't even process it. He goes,
what? You're not going to come back to New York?
Because the whole plane ride out, he had a script in his mind and he knew that he was going to, he was certain, he had convinced himself.
What's so great about New York? I mean, it's a dying city. You read Death in Venice.
Hey, you didn't read Death in Venice till I bought it for you.
That's right, that's right. You only gave me books with the word death in the title.
These lines are all going to come back, but it's really interesting hearing them performed by different actors, essentially.
Yeah, but she calls him out.
Alvy, you're incapable of enjoying life. You know that? I mean, you're like New York City. You're just this person. You're like this island unto yourself.
I can't enjoy anything unless everybody is. If one guy is starving someplace, that's, I puts a crimp in my evening.
And I'm like, but you're the unhappy guy that's putting a crimp in everybody's evening. Like, that's the result of this.
Yeah, and it's also an excuse to not grow, Steve. Like, oh, I don't want to, if everybody's not happy, then I can't possibly be happy. Therefore, I'm good staying where I'm at. And it's like, no, that's not what this is about. You're just using that as a shield or as an excuse to not grow. And that's not how it works. Like a few years ago, I saw people saying, well, I won't get married until there's gay marriage. And I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with you getting married? That's such a ridiculous stance to take. It's true. It's probably because you don't actually want to get married. And so it's just like these kinds of things that you look at and I go, there are stances to make, but stuff like that is just so, to me, it's just like so unnecessary,
That's where I go, like, don't do me any favors,
Yeah.
Like if something really shitty happens to me and I go, John, I'm really sad this shitty thing happened. And you went, you know what, Steve? I'm not going to be happy either until you're happy. I'd be like, no, that does nothing for me. Go be happy. Try to cheer me up. I'd like to be happy again. Don't join my misery.
Right. Doesn't Hamlet say that about all marriages must end, or we must ban all marriages until
something
come on,
like that?
Calm down.
So you want to get married or what?
No, we're friends. I want to remain friends.
Okay. Check, please. Can I
You're mad, aren't you?
Yes, of course I'm mad because you love me. I know that.
Alvy, I can't say that that's true at this point in my life. I really just can't say that that's true. I mean, you know how wonderful you are. I mean, you're the reason that I got out of my room and that I was able to sing and get more in touch with my feelings and all that crap.
It's an interesting moment because she's expressed
her
gratitude for him, that she cares about him, that she thinks he's really, really special. That's nice. But that's as far as she can go because anything else is going to play into his delusion,
Yes. Yeah. Well, and it's a hard thing because Alvy, as we said, Alvy hasn't grown up. He hasn't matured emotionally, right? So in his mind, he's like, well, no, we did all this. We should still be. How could we have done all this if you don't love me? How could we have had all these moments, had these years, had these interactions, shared these books, talked about this stuff? Chase lobsters. Like, how could we have had all this stuff and you now are ready to walk away from our love? Like, you asked me to come back to you from the spider thing. I was happy when we broke up the first time. I was seeing other people, but you asked me to come back to you. Now you're leaving me. It's that pride and ego.
Yep.
I'm telling you, this is shit you confront in therapy and you kind of realize like, fuck, man, if you could just be more healthy as a human being, you can process these breakups and these losses and these end of dating scenarios so much more easily than going into more toxic behavior, which is what he's doing here,
You know what I just realized too, as I was saying, like kind of the college age where I watched this movie many times. Well, at the college age, I was much closer to Alvy because that's when my first girlfriend broke up. I had broken up with her and then we got back together and then she broke up with me and I was destroyed. And I wasn't in love. Looking back on it, it was first love. It was, the first girl that was ever interested in me and that she wasn't interested in me. I moped for 6 months, at least upset and called her in the saddest, most pitiful. So, calling her and saying but so you don't love me anymore? And she's like, well, I guess not. And I was like, so when you told me you love me, does that mean you were lying to me the whole time?
Oh, man.
And it's just looking back at it, it's like, what a moron I was.
We have to grow. Yeah, I know, brother. I'm in the same boat with you. I think about my old relationships and the things I said in those moments because we grow, we get older. If we're remotely people who are capable of self-awareness and can grow and want to be better people, we look back on those moments and we cringe. But the truth is, that's who we were at those times and we needed to grow. And there's a lot of emotionally immature things that men do at those ages, bro. So I hear you. It is tough to look back. And, you lived with me through through the terrible relationship that I had that almost, ended up with me taking my own life. And that, I did the same thing when she broke up with me the second time because I broke up with her the first time. I was just like, I called and left her messages. I left her like a 20-paragraph email talking about all the things we did. How could you have done this if you didn't feel this way about me? Why are you doing this? And it's all because I just didn't want to accept that we weren't right for each other. But it is a hard process, and you got to cut yourself off. I had to block her on all my social medias, so I wasn't tempted to look her up, and I wasn't tempted to see where she's at. And it took about a year. Oh, you remember, a year or two before I was able to even get my head above water. And therapy was a massive part of climbing out of that morass. But thank God, because, I found the person I am supposed to be with, and I've never been happier. So, things happen for a reason, and they may suck in the moment that they're going on, and you may feel stupid or desperate like Alvy feels here in this scene. But, those are also things that can lead to growth for you if you're open to growing, So, yeah.
I kind of knew this before, but I feel like I put something together, like in a way that you made me think of, and it relates to this next line. So we've already said that Alvy flew out here, and the whole flight, he had the script in his head and how things were going to go. He knew what was going to happen at the restaurant. He just was certain that, of course, Annie was going to say she loved him. I'm coming back to New York. He was certain of that. And his next line.
So what are you saying? That you're not coming back to New York with me?
And he's so shocked. And here's what I just put together. And you pointed it out at the very beginning of the movie.
Oh.
But it's the shot of the Marines and the blonde when the blonde turns to camera. It is his romantic notion of reality. Everything in this movie, the lobsters are his romantic notion of reality. Everything has to happen in this romantic way. And whenever reality doesn't live up to that, he can't deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the blonde is supposed to turn to camera. That's what's supposed to happen. And her response is, I got to go. Because I think she just realized, oh, this will never go anywhere. I can never get, there's no, talking is not going to do anything here.
It's healthy. You're creating boundaries is healthy. Refusing to be sucked into someone else's shit is actually healthy. Our society has made people feel guilty about walking away from people when they're trying to drag you into their insecurities and low self-esteem and issues like that, which, yes, you can feel pity and sympathy for, but it does not mean that you have to subject yourself to and your mental health to be taken advantage of and go into that black hole with them. It's actually healthier to walk away.
It is so hard to walk away.
I know.
And there are times, I can't even begin to tell you the number of things in my life where I was like, oh, I should have walked away way earlier than that. I spent way too much time there for no reason. And so she walks away.
What do you mean? I flew 3,000 miles to see you. That's air miles, you know what that does to my stomach?
Yeah, again, as you said, he's trying to,
use weakness.
Use weakness as a way of guilting her into staying.
She says she has to go because the Grammys are tonight, and Tony is up for a bunch of Grammys, and his response,
oh, really? They give awards for that kind of music? I thought just earplugs.
This is the woman that you supposedly love, likes this guy, is a singer recording for him. So she could potentially be up for the next Grammy, and he's poo-pooing that right now. Like, for the person that he wants to marry him.
Yeah, 100%.
He gets in the car. He doesn't start it well. He thinks he's going to go backwards and goes forwards and crashes. The top starts going up. He crashes into another car, and we cut to him as a kid in the bumper cars, which might be the biggest callback in movie history. It's literally from like 3 minutes into the movie to 3 minutes before the end of the movie. We go back to the bumper cars.
And what was his line at the beginning of the movie is that's how he worked out his aggression, right?
Yep.
And so, because he is so emotionally immature, even here in this moment, I don't think it's an accident, obviously, for them to cut that section or that quick scene from back at the beginning of the movie in his childhood to this scene, because he is in a state of aggression here and he's unleashing it in a certain way,
Alvy has lost it. Let's be real clear.
No, fair point. Yes,
the cop comes up, motorcycle cop.
I know what you're going to say. I'm not a great driver. I have some problems with
So your license, please.
And then Alvy drops the license on the ground.
Just pick up the license.
Oh, pick up the license. You have to ask nicely because I've had an extremely rough day. My girlfriend.
Just give me the license, please.
and he tears up his driver's license.
Since you put it that way, it's hard for me to refuse. I have a terrific problem with authority, you know. It's not your fault. Don't take it personal.
This is a level of anger and self-destruction and
punishment. He is punishing himself in a way as well. Yeah, psychologically. Yeah.
I mean, I think, you know, he had no power with the woman that he loves, and now his way of acting out is going after this authority figure.
Yep, great point, Steve. Yep.
Cut to him in jail, and cut to him walking out of the Hollywood police station with Rob.
I had the feeling that I got you at a bad moment. You know, I heard high-pitched squealing.
Twins, Max. 16-year-old.
Ooh.
Can you imagine the mathematical possibilities of that?
My note here is ugh.
Ugh, yes. As is my note.
Well, and here's what
so
I think
many
is
reasons, though, bro. For so many reasons, right?
Well,
ahead,
it's because it's Woody. You know,
yeah, Woody writing it. Yes,
Woody writing it. It is, and the thing I want, oh, fuck, I'm gonna like stumble over this whole thing. See if I can figure out how I want to say this. So the thing I want to point out about this joke, because it is a joke, is that people did not bump on this joke in 1977. Yes, there were people who did, but the general audience found it perfectly acceptable to hear a man who's like in his 40s joke about having sex with girls in their teens. Yeah. And that was seen as normal, you know?
Yeah.
I am not saying that's a good thing. I'm saying we don't see that. Even people who, you know, wherever you are in the culture wars, most people today will not hear that line and go, that sounds totally cool. It does not.
You're an actor, Max. You should be doing Shakespeare in the Park.
Oh, I did Shakespeare in the Park, Max. I got mugged. I was playing Richard II, and two guys with leather jackets stole my leotard.
By the way, I should point out that he's driving in like a hazmat suit.
Yeah.
He goes
out the rays.
Also, I think Alvy is a very problematic person with all sorts of issues. Rob is worse. He's a terrible person.
Well, because Rob is not self-reflective at all.
Yeah.
He's one of those people that you're just like, man, he's like Robert Duvall in Apocalypse Now. You just know he's not going to get so much as a scratch out in Hollywood. He just has that
great comparison.
Right? He just has that energy that like, he's just going to roll with it, man. Laugh track? I don't give a shit. 16-year-olds? I don't give a shit. Like, visible panty liner? I don't give a shit. Like, he's just rolling through it all because he enjoys his life. And I'll tell you, this is interesting for Alvy because both of his friends, his girlfriend and or ex-girlfriend, I guess, and his best friend moved to LA.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing. And both of them say negative shit about New York. And if you want to really extrapolate meaning here, in a way, Alvy is so tied to New York in his mind that them like going after New York is a little bit like them going after him. And what he doesn't understand is they've embraced so LA, Rob and Annie have, that, you know, attacking LA or making jokes about LA are like going after them. So it's that kind of thing that's going on here at this stage of the movie, I think.
I think while Alvy is a miserable person, there is something slightly better about the miserable person who does go to see the sorrow and the pity and does think about death and other miserable people in the world and suffering. And a guy like Rob who does his terrible sitcom and picks up 16-year-olds and doesn't think about anything else.
Yeah.
You know,
I always wonder what happens when they, you know, if you believe in heaven, what happens when someone like Rob shows up? Like, what's the judgment there? I don't know.
Well, it's a damn good question because it really depends on which set of rules they're operating by up there.
Yeah, it's true.
Because if you read the Bible, you know, a guy with multiple 16-year-old wives is totally normal. So
for certain sections of the Bible, true. Yeah.
Why would that be a problem? But we've definitely digressed. Cut to something I always forget is at the end of the movie is these two young people having a conversation, and immediately this conversation sounds very familiar.
You're a thinking person. How can you choose this lifestyle?
What is so incredibly great about New York? It's a dying city. You read Death in Venice.
You didn't read Death in Venice till I gave it to you.
And we suddenly realize that we're sitting in a rehearsal of the play that Alvy wrote, where he referenced his relationship with Annie, specifically this last scene. And the actors playing this is Charles Levin and Robin Mary Paris. And the interesting thing I find is it's interesting to watch two great actors in Diane Keaton and Woody Allen do a scene in a very natural way. And then these two young actors do the same scene, but in a very actorly way.
Very black box theater way. One act play way. Yeah,
we're young actors acting our acting stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. If that's all that we've been through together means to you, I guess it's better if we just said goodbye, once and for all. You know what's funny? After all the serious talks and passionate moments, that it ends here, in a health food restaurant on Sunset Boulevard. Goodbye, Sally.
Holy shit, her name is Sally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
When Harry Met Sally references now are everywhere. So by the way, the dialogue here at a health food restaurant on Sunset Boulevard is so a certain kind of black box theater. You know, it is so young writers who feel they have to say that kind of stuff. And then the scene is ending just as it ended in real life. They're breaking up, except...
Wait. I'm gonna go with you. I love you.
And they kiss. He gives the story the ending that his life didn't give him.
What do you want? It was my first play. You know, you're always trying to get things to come out perfect in art because it's real difficult in life.
Very meta, right? And this is the first aside he has to us, Steve, where he breaks the fourth wall and his walls are down. Like he's being honest and vulnerable. The other times he's looked at us, it's been for a joke or a sarcastic comment or whatever. This is Alvy now, a little healthier than we've seen him. And he even looks a little ashamed that you've caught him, that we as the audience have caught him changing the ending of their story, right? And what does Rob Reiner say, or the late, great Rob Reiner, who we recently did a short on, talking about When Harry Met Sally, is like, the ending changed because of me meeting my wife on the set of When Harry Met Sally. They were not supposed to end up together at the end of the movie. So it was going to mirror Annie Hall even more so. But I think it's fascinating that they end up together in the play here in this movie that Alvy is writing, and they also end up together in the When Harry Met Sally movie, which is, I think, has a lot of takes a lot of influence from Annie Hall. So, interesting.
What's interesting to me is that we, the audience, have been his allies through the whole movie. He's turned to us for support. He said, "Hey, you saw what Annie said about wife thing." Like and now he realizes that the allies he's been telling this whole story to him can see his hypocrisy.
Yes.
And so now and because we can see his hypocrisy, we're essentially Alvy's imaginary friends, know, because we can see his hypocrisy, he can see his hypocrisy.
Yep. 100%.
And so it's not like he has a huge amount of growth, but there is growth. Even though he wrote the play with the happy ending, he knows that's bullshit. He knows that's not what happened. And by the way, you know what other movie this reminded me of is this is the end of Chasing Amy, because he draws the comic book about the story. And to him, I always saw it as this sort of, weak ass way to try to get Amy back a little bit. Like, hey, see how I've matured by telling this story, but it's still all about him. I actually think Alvy might have grown a little bit more than Ben Affleck's character in Chasing Amy.
Yeah. Well, maybe because Alvy's more talented than Ben Affleck's character in that movie.
That might also be true.
Interestingly, however, I did run into Annie again. It was on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. She had moved back to New York. She was living in Soho with some guy. And when I met her, she was, of all things, dragging him in to see The Sorrow and the Pity, which I counted as a personal triumph.
Now, you may not be able to notice it when if any of you go back and watch this movie because we're talking about it, but the tall woman with Woody Allen, that is a young Sigourney Weaver in one of her first appearances on camera. So when you go back and watch this scene, that's her in the trench coat shaking hands with Annie's date, who looks, from behind looks older and looks very similar to Woody, though. Like even the hairstyle and the kind of the clothes he's wearing, it looks a little different. But I love the fact that she's taking. Now, do you think that he is? Because he wrote this movie, so it's like we're getting in Wheels Within Wheels territory. Do you think that wrote this in the movie to in a way validate Alvy's relationship with Annie, that Annie would be the one now bringing someone to sorrow and the pity, that in essence, as he says, it counts as a personal victory, that he wasn't all bad if he influenced her to do this kind of stuff.
First of all, I think that is a personal triumph. If I introduce you to Lawrence of Arabia and then you say, hey, last week I just showed this other friend Lawrence of Arabia, I totally won. Like that so I totally get that.
Yeah, but I don't think Sorrow and the Pity is used in the way you would use Lawrence of Arabia.
No.
This
Well,
movie, right?
honestly, that's an even bigger win. You get somebody else who has seen the 4-hour-long black and white documentary about Nazis multiple times, and they're still taking other people to go to see it. That is a triumph. So, but what I also think, I mean, what's so interesting, I think Woody Allen in this last monologue, it relates to your question earlier about feeling sympathy for him. I think he manages to thread an almost impossible needle, which is to not say that Alvy has changed and grown and become the perfect person at all.
Yeah.
But show enough growth and enough consideration and that we can walk out of the movie still liking him and feeling actually kind of good about it in a weird way.
Yeah.
Considering a guy who's been a jerk for most of the movie.
And Annie and I, we had lunch sometime after that and just kicked around old times.
Annie singing Seems Like Old Times, which you couldn't be more spot on. And we see this montage of their life together, including driving in the lobsters and on the water and seeing her in the outfit at tennis and the spider and all that stuff. And we also see them that they're laughing and having this long conversation at this restaurant.
After that, it got pretty late and we both had to go, but it was great seeing Annie again. I realized what a terrific person she was and how much fun it was just knowing her.
That's fucking healthy as hell, man. That is so healthy as hell. And it is tough to come to that place if you don't have that as a natural thing, or you're caught up in your ego and all of that and your self-esteem issues and low self-confidence, all that. It's hard to come to that point. And so the fact that he does, considering what we've seen of Alvy up to that point, I think is pretty amazing.
It's time too. You know what I mean? Like you can't get to that feeling an hour after the breakup. It has to be a year or 2 years. You need some perspective, and because that's where you start to let go of all that stuff you're hanging on to so desperately, and you can just look at the person and go, "Oh, this was this moment in my life."
And I think it's great that he says, "I realized what a terrific person she was." I think there's growth in that, because what was Annie's complaint throughout the whole relationship? You don't think I'm smart enough for you, and so in a way, that was always hanging over their relationship, that he never saw her as terrific. And I think the line is really well written here and purposeful here, that I saw what a terrific person she is. So he's finally learned that he has to accept her for who she is. And that's really growth as well, emotional growth as well.
Strangely enough, I think if Alvy had come to this conclusion a lot earlier, he might have had a chance to marry Annie. If he knew how to value her earlier in the relationship, he might have had a shot.
100%. They wouldn't still be and they might have ended up back in New York, because she does move back to New York, right? So Annie might have tried out LA, enjoyed LA for what it was, but then realized, hey, you know what? I don't like it out here now. I'm growing past LA, and now I'm going back to New York because I want to go back to something that always gave me strength, and I now have a different approach to it, a different feeling about it. That happens all the time. People move back home all the time after they've lived out in the world and seen everything in the world, because there's a sense of security and strength in going back home. So I think it's great. But what do you think about the kiss they share at the end as they're saying goodbye? It's just past the lips, not on the lips. So is that a friend kiss, or is that we just had a wonderful lunch or whatever, and there's still something there that'll probably never be acted on, but will always be there as a sense of love, because we did love each other once in a blue moon.
I would define it as a friend plus 22% kiss. You know what I mean? It's that kiss that has, it's that kiss that has, this is just a friend kiss. And yet we both know, like there's just that little extra because we have done all the stuff together,
Yeah, agreed.
I thought of that old joke, this guy goes to a psychiatrist and says, "Doc, my brother's crazy. He thinks he's a chicken."
And as we're hearing this, we're watching Annie walk away, Alvy alone on the street, and now finally Alvy walks away. And as he walks away, we hear
the doctor says, "Well, why don't you turn him in?" And the guy says, "I would, but I need the eggs."
First of all, that, again, is a perfect joke.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
it's just, I think we're already ahead of him now before he even sums up the joke.
What I also think is great about this moment, Steve, the timing of it, and this goes to a directing thing, and I wonder if you think I'm foolish for saying this or not, but like he ends that line just as the don't walk sign becomes walk, as the red becomes green. Like you can go, you can move on, you can move forward. And I think there's a symbolism in that. And I don't know if that's on purpose. I don't know what the timing was. I don't know if they even were controlling traffic on a movie set like this. I don't know how much money they had to do anything like that back in 1977. But I think the timing of it works so well to have the end of that eggs line be just as the don't walk sign becomes walk sign as he's walking away.
So my guess is that it probably isn't on purpose. It certainly could be. It's possible. And they probably did close off the street. So they could have, but probably isn't on purpose. But to me, it goes into this term that we talked about with Wizard of Oz when we were talking about Dark Side of the Moon, which is psychoacoustic coincidence, is that random events will sync up sometimes. And there was a moment, the last shot of The Assistants is we're looking down, and it's a crane shot, and this guy is driving away as they go back to shooting the movie. We're on a hilltop, and Dodger Stadium is below the shot. And they happened to have a game that day, which was really lucky. Oh, wow. And as we do the crane shot, they had the lights that go all the way around the rim of the stadium. And as we do the crane shot, they flash these bright red lights. And when I laid down the music track sunk, or I got it to sink a little bit, with the flash of those red lights. And it looks totally on purpose. Oh, wow. And I swear to God, I did not control when they were going to do their lights during a game at Dodger Stadium. Nice. But it came out looking real, real cool.
Happy accidents. Yeah, I love it.
I guess that's pretty much now how I feel about relationships. You know, they're totally irrational and crazy and absurd. But I guess we keep going through it because most of us need the eggs.
Just so you know, this line, the idea to put this line at the end of the movie was recorded 2 hours before a test screening.
Holy shit.
Yep.
Wow.
And I think it is an astounding ending to the movie.
100%. And I love that the film lingers there. So it isn't just ending and you're left with that thought. They let you linger in the world of the movie to kind of process that thought and process those comments. Because I think they're great. And Woody delivers them really well. Like just acting wise, the way he says that comment about the eggs and why we go through them, because we need the eggs. And it's matter of fact, and it's real, and it's honest, and it's vulnerable. And I think it's a great delivery of that line. Because as you said, we start the movie with him making jokes, and those are jokes like he's doing them on the Borscht Belt or the Catskills or on the, so stand-up. This is much more of a commentary joke with real humanity behind it. So it has more resonance to end the movie this way. It's so smart. I love it. I'm so glad they did it,
I'm glad you brought up the contrast with the comic that he's hired to write jokes for, because his jokes have no meaning. They're just like they're not about anything. They're just interesting words put together that might make someone laugh.
Right.
I would, but I need the eggs is a joke that has tremendous meaning, and to me, it's a perfect counterpart parallel with the food is terrible in such small portions. Because it's in that same realm of I have to endure this thing that I don't like because I need the eggs. I keep going back to, and what he says at the end about relationships, I think you could just say about life in general. He says, totally irrational and crazy and absurd, but we keep going through it because most of us need the eggs. That is life, man. I mean, particularly, I've not had the best week and I've been kind of down. And looking at the world, there's a lot of shit going on in the world, and there's a lot on my plate at the moment, and just life is irrational and crazy and absurd, but I need the eggs, but I want to keep living,
Yeah. And you want to keep creating. You need the eggs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so I'm going to continue to do crazy things because I need the eggs, like that this is our world, So the movie wraps production, and I didn't know exactly where to say it, and I'm just going to say it right here. During the end of production, Woody Allen started dating a woman named Stacy Neakin, who acted in the film, and she was cut from the movie. I don't know what part she played or what scene she was in, and she was 17.
Eee. Oh my God.
So, I mean, I think Woody Allen is a brilliant filmmaker, but I don't think we can just close our eyes to the reality. And we don't know, again, I'm going to say it again. I do not know the full extent of what Woody Allen did or didn't do, particularly with children, but it's in there. Yeah.
But yeah. Look at Manhattan, as you said. Yeah.
The first cut of the movie didn't work at all. And as I said at the beginning, initially, Annie Hall was one of several threads they were following in the film. It was not primarily a movie about Annie Hall. It was between 2 and 3 hours long. It was all over the place. Woody Allen described it as it felt like the draft of a novel where you could pick 2 or 3 stories to make a movie out of, and you needed to pick. And so they finally went, okay, the relationship was the focus. And the moment they made that decision, the editing went in a completely different direction, cut out 20 minutes out of the first part of the movie to get really to the relationship with Annie. Apparently, he was just absolutely ruthless with his material, which I totally get. It's like, if this isn't working, throw it out. Doesn't matter. It premiered at the LA Film Festival on March 27th, 1977. It had a wide release on April 20th. It earned $38 million on a budget of $4 million. It's the 11th highest grossing movie of 1977. There is a couple of other much higher grossing movies in 77. It's Allen's 4th highest grossing movie of all time, and it's his biggest movie when you adjust for inflation. It was nominated for all the big awards, picture, director, screenplay, and actress on the 50th Academy Awards. Richard Dreyfuss won for Best Actor for Goodbye Girl that year.
Yeah.
Jason Robards won Best Actor for Julia, which I've never seen, which Vanessa Redgrave also won the Oscar for. Cinematography, sound, and effects editing went to a little movie called Close Encounters. Art direction, costume design, editing, music, sound, and visual effects went to another little movie called Star Wars. And Annie Hall wins for screenplay, actress, director, and best picture.
Wow.
This is one of those that I can't believe Star Wars didn't win best picture moments. And lots of people talk about this. First of all, in 1977, it doesn't shock me at all that Star Wars doesn't win best picture.
Yeah.
And I think Annie Hall is 100% worthy to be best picture. It's just very different from Star Wars.
Yeah.
You take it a long moment here.
Yeah, because, I think it's a better film than Star Wars. Yes, I would agree.
Whoa,
and I know some people might get
Oh.
upset, but
I didn't take it that far.
Well, it's my truth. I just don't. I think Star Wars is a good movie, and I certainly enjoy Star Wars, and I love it as a film, 100%. But I get more out of Annie Hall than I do out of Star Wars. It's just kind of who I am, right? I get more out of Shakespeare in Love than I do out of Private Ryan. There's just these things about certain smaller films that resonate with me deeper, and I appreciate their artistry more. Not that there isn't artistry in Star Wars or something like, obviously in Private Ryan is a lot. It's just the way I look at it is I prefer Annie Hall over Star Wars if we're talking about great movies, and I just think this movie, there's just something about this movie that I think does merit it over Star Wars. I don't think in my mind, it's not as much of a controversy.
I don't prefer Annie Hall over Star Wars. To me, they're like both delicious meals that I might be in a different mood for. One is pizza and one is a burger, and I love pizzas and burgers, and sometimes I want one and sometimes I want the other. I think that Star Wars, obviously, you can't get more influential film than Star Wars. I mean, it plants the course for where movies are in all sorts of good ways and bad ways today.
Right.
I don't think Star Wars, I know I said this before, I kind of feel like maybe you disagree a little bit, but I love Star Wars. I don't think Star Wars is deep. It's not a movie. You get to the end of Star Wars and I go, I got it. That was great. Yep. I love that movie. And yeah, it has some themes of good and evil, but they're not very profound. They're not complex. Whereas Annie Hall is deep. Like you get to spend a lot of time, as we have been doing, chewing over this film.
I think Star Wars to even be nominated that year, when you're looking at The Goodbye Girl, Julia, The Turning Point, Annie Hall, Star Wars is the anomaly in that collection of films. So the fact that it even got to a nomination is victory enough. To think it would beat those 4 other movies that are, more human interest stories than Star Wars, I think is a little of madness, in my opinion. But I know that people like to argue about this stuff and get mad about this stuff, and say the Academy's out of touch and all that nonsense. But to me, I think the fact that it even got nominated is pretty amazing. And I would even put Close Encounters over Star Wars. I think that's a better film, and it wasn't even nominated for Best Picture, for God's sakes.
Annie Hall is not a example of Hollywood being out of touch, because Annie Hall is as groundbreaking as Star Wars is in its own way. It is dealing with sex and deconstructing the way movies are made, breaking the fourth wall. I mean, it is all intellectual. It's all over the place. This
Feminism,
is a radical movie.
100%. 100%. Radical. Yes, that's a great term, Steve, for sure.
It is ranked number 31 on the AFI 100 list, and it is ranked number 4 on their list of comedies. That is how high this movie is put. Would you like to know what director considers Annie Hall one of his favorite movies of all time?
Please.
Akira Kurosawa.
Of course he does. He's my number 1 filmmaker. He understands greatness in movies.
Can you imagine being Woody Allen, who's made this very odd movie, Annie Hall, and finding out that Kurosawa loves it? I mean, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I think so too.
We've reached the end of Annie Hall, John, and I'm curious about what your final thoughts are.
My final thoughts are this was such an enjoyable revisit of a film I hadn't seen in some time, and I got to reappreciate it as a different John Rocha than the John Rocha was who had seen it the last time he saw it, which was years ago. And there was so much about the film that spoke to me in ways that it didn't speak to me before, where I just saw it as a funny comedy about relationships. There's so much more going on that I think Steve and I mined a lot of in our conversations that I found to be very interesting, exciting, and joyful about the movie. I appreciate the performance from Woody Allen, the writing from him and Marshall Brickman in this movie, the construction of the movie, the editing, the pacing of the film, the way the movement of moving into different times. I mean, I have to feel like maybe Tarantino was influenced by that with Pulp Fiction. I just think this film has much more power and resonance than I would have ever expected when we first thought about doing this movie. And I'm so glad we did it. And we did it in honor of Diane Keaton. And I find myself coming out of this movie and this experience an even bigger fan of Diane Keaton. And if I can borrow the words of Alvy Singer a little bit, I finally realized what a terrific actress she is. And so that's what I feel coming out of this movie. And with all the noise around Woody, which is I totally respect and understand, I can separate the art from the artist in this particular situation and appreciate the greatness of his artistry in making this movie even more so now today.
So just in terms of Woody, I think we need to look at the entire picture. And for those terrible things that he did, he should face the consequences. And if we discover more terrible things, he should face the consequences. That is part of the picture, and I would never deny any of that. But I also don't think it makes sense to deny the tremendous artist that he was, or the profound effect a movie like Annie Hall had on my life. And so to punish Woody for things that he did is absolutely appropriate. And to hide or pretend that he didn't do things that we find questionable is a mistake. But to not discuss Annie Hall as we've done today would be robbing me of something. It's taking something from me. It's taking something from my development as a person and as an artist. And so I think this is really important. And I echo your sentiments about Diane Keaton. I think I was so interested in Woody Allen that when the many, many times I saw this movie, I just saw Annie Hall, and I didn't see this amazing actor creating this incredible performance, because that was just this goofy Annie Hall. And now I'm like, oh no, she's astounding in this film. Yep. As I've already said, that the freedom to make whatever reality you want out of film is hugely influential to me, to the way I think, to the way I edit, to the way I write. And I also think the continual engagement. And this is what I love. This is why Woody Allen's one of my favorite filmmakers, despite everything else, is he wants to engage on ideas the way I want to engage on ideas. He teaches me things. He makes me think about things. His perspective on things is really, really different from anybody else. And he wants to engage in that real human, messy, insecure, sexual, obsessive, absurd way that all of us are. Yeah. I think Woody sees into humans in a profound way. And that's why I'm going to keep coming back to his movies, despite the fact that more things I learn about Woody Allen, the person, makes me not want to be anywhere near him at all.
Yeah.
So that's what we think about Annie Hall. Of course, this has been a huge journey. We'd love to hear your thoughts. You can visit us on Facebook, of course. Just do a search for the Cine-Files. On X, it's Cine_Files. It's the Cine-Files podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your comments on Spotify, YouTube. Reviews on Apple Podcasts still really help. If you want to support the show, it's at patreon.com/thecine-files, where we just released a short on the great Rob Reiner, who we so tragically lost. And we actually released that on our free tier. So anyone who wants to hear that short can just go to patreon.com/thecine-files to sign up. Doesn't cost you a thing. And if you want to buy or stream Annie Hall along with any other movie we've ever reviewed, that's on cinephiles.net. And I am at SR Morris on Twitter, SR Morris1 on Instagram. John, how about you?
You can always find me at The Rocha Says on all social media. We'll appreciate that. And please head on over to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/John Rocha Says, where we talk all kinds of things going on in the world of entertainment through a number of shows like the Geek Buddies, the Hot Mic, the Jedi Way, the Spill the Tequila, and my show, The Truth There, that's on the channel. Thank you, guys. And Steve, another great fun conversation with you, brother.
Agreed. And we will be back next time, I believe, to tell each other a little Christmas story for your holiday cheer. That's coming up next on the Cine-Files.